Oh, I got a truck out front. It'll go wherever I tell it. What you got?
We're streaming on Rumble now.
Yeah. On.
It's live on myself.
Is it still streaming on the channel and on Rumble? Okay. Did you post the link to Rumble on the channel? Okay, good. Yeah, we might as well go public. That's good. That's good. Yeah, volume control is not real good on Telegram. So, you ready for some news? YouTube shut us down for spreading false information. If the fact checkers would have been following along and looking up the stuff I told them to look up, they would know it's not false information. Oh my. Go to the channel, start at the top, work your way down, study everything, watch all the videos, read all the files. That's what I should have told them. So anyhow, and then you might be able to have an opinion about what's truth or fact. You know? Well, you ought to just call it what it is, censorship. So anyhow, we're streaming live on the channel for a little bit. Now we're streaming live on Rumble. We made the link public. I don't care how many people sees it. Now tomorrow's a different story. I don't know how we're going to handle tomorrow, but tomorrow you're going to get some pretty intense stuff that's not to be meant for in the public, okay? So, this morning, how did this morning go for you? There you go. Did I make it clear enough how this is all coming together? There's a merger happening, okay? If you've studied the Bible, you know that things are going to happen. You know that people of faith are coming together. There's a merger of the faithful. And a year and a half ago, it was not time. It wasn't God's timeline for Kiki and I to come together. I didn't know enough. And then it was time in April for us to come together. And then our team, I call them the national coaches because that's exactly what they are. They're helping everybody in every state. We have been digging into this since April, and quite a few of them have gotten their names and are in the process. When we go through the crucible and we know the keys to unlock the several states, we will be doing multiple seminars in multiple states at the same time, privately, to help people. Only once we have walked through the crucible will we be able to help you, all right? The one thing that I talked about that I probably shouldn't have is the foreign judgment, okay? Do the research. Read up on it. Do not do it. If you mess it up, they will come and take your house and the toys your kids play with and the underwear in your drawer. It is a high stakes 2 steps. High stakes, all right? Because you get sovereign immunity, really and truly, when you execute the foreign judgment, constitute the trust, and do the assignments properly, okay? And I won't go into a lot of detail about those things, okay, because I can't, because it's breach of trust, my estate trust, okay? Got it? Now, the first step is read, study the name change. The next thing that you need to study is equity. There are a lot of things out there. There's Blackstones. Anything written by Blackstones. There's Blackstone's commentary on law. There's Blackstone's, lots of publications out there about Blackstones. Go to UCLA Law School. They've got a treatise on names that's just killer. Okay? Constitutional arguments for the name change. And there's tons of information in there. Now, it's at law, but it gives you the standing to be able to argue for a name, if it should come to that. All right? Now remember, the more of us that go through this process, and the more people who try to do it that are not ready because they've got many things happening in their lives, they're in harm's way, they're losing their house, they're losing their kids, and they rifle through it and try to do the steps before they know what they're doing, and they breach equity and they get in trouble. If a lot of us go out there and do the same thing, half-cocked, not ready, we're going to piss off some judges. We're going to start pissing off some counties. We're going to start pissing off some states. And they're going to respond and make it harder. And that's what we don't want to happen. We don't want it to be harder for the people that need to go through it. And we do not want, biggest and most importantly, is for any of us, the people of this country, to be putting ourselves in harm's way and handing them the pistol and loading the gun for them. We do not want that to happen, okay? Got it? So these two steps are of a very, very, very serious nature. They have extremely high consequences, okay? It's important that you be competent, because not everybody can get their name. Not everybody's going to be able to read the forked tongue and do the research, because they just aren't able. Because each of us have gifts of different things. All right? So, for the ones that can't, the very minimum that they could do is send in an AOR, do their patent nativity, the deed of reconveyance, and get a passport. That at least reports, which means they take it from the port of the District of Columbia, they take it to the state where they lay their head, and that's where they park their vessel. And that's an American national, or without the AOR, it defaults to a state citizen. You do have limited diplomatic immunity. You do have some of your rights back, your substantive law back, by correcting the status of your person. If you'll notice on your passport, it's still issued to your person, the all-capital name. That's not you. That's your estate. You have equitable use of that passport, of that driver's license. You have equitable use of your land. Okay? This can be done incrementally, and you at least achieve some. You become non-corporate, and you're telling them about themselves. Okay? Now, the one thing that that I would like to do is get with David when he has the time, and get with some other people, and update the AOR, because that's David's update. He tells everybody this in the seminar. That AOR is 30 years old. And it's been updated along the way a little bit, but it needs to have a lot more incorporated into it and make it sharper, more pointed, and then that would be that could be a little bit more effective. Your patent nativity, like I said earlier, that's pretty important if you can go back prior to 1776, because your grandfather then is one of the people. You can achieve the status as one of we the people. It's a little bit harder if your family lineage wasn't here, unless you're able to constitute the trust, get your name, constitute the trust, okay? Execute and constitute the trust. Then you get your substantive law. So the last thing I think we looked up was substantive rights. So does anybody remember what they read about substantive rights? Anybody? Look it up on your phone. Yeah, you got it? Are you ready for that microphone? All right.
I've been waiting 2 hours for this.
Yeah. Substantive rights. What does it say about substantive rights?
Substantive law describes how people are expected to behave according to accepted social norms.
According to accepted social norms. Now, there should be a couple keep going.
Well, then under procedural,
Yeah?
because you had this, both the procedural law is a set of rules by which the courts in the United States decide the outcomes of all criminal, civil, and administrative
Right, so that's
cases.
substantive. So one is morals-based and the other is statutory-based. Okay, so what tells us what morals are? The Bible. What's right and wrong is written down in the Bible. Okay, so now, who else looked it up and found a different definition? You? Go ahead. I'm looking for a certain thing.
Substantive rights are general rights that individuals possess and upon which the government may not infringe.
Holy cow! Say that again.
General rights that individuals possess and upon which the government may not infringe.
Now, does it also say in the footnotes, see the Bill of Rights?
It says examples of substantive rights enumerated in the U.S. Constitution include the rights of freedom to freedom of expression and freedom of association.
The Constitution. What's a part? What amendment? The Constitution includes the amendments, the Bill of Rights. Your substantive rights are constitutional rights. Yeah.
One other addition here, a little bit further down. The Ten Commandments, for example, is a set of substantive laws.
Yes. In the Bible. So, and how many of you found federal rules of civil procedure? You can look it up. You can look it up or you trust. Do you trust me that it's there? Yes. If you don't believe me, go look it up. It's rule number 2. And it says, civil procedures shall not enlarge, nor, what was the word I used? How many of you remember it? Or diminish substantive right. And it applies all the way down to the lower court, the magistrate court. That's their rule. And what's the maxim of law? A right not declared, a right not claimed, a right not acted upon ceases to exist. We don't have any rights because we never knew how to secure them. Because we've never secured our person. As we're supposed to do, we told government that we were allowed to do it, and they could not stop us from securing our person. And that was in the 4th Amendment that someone read earlier. People are to be secure in their person, houses, papers, and effects. So you see, can you see now what we went over this morning and what we're talking about right at this moment? Can you see that there is remedy in the system? Can you see that? Okay. Now, if somebody wants to, I'm being told, thank you, that I need to do this. So somebody look up federal rules of procedure. And it's rule number 2. Or it may be under rules of court. Somebody find it. There's 150 of you in here. You should be able to find it, one of you. Yeah, you found it? Okay. Right behind you, honey.
Federal Rules of Civil Procedure.
Yeah, it should be rule number 2. Yep.
One form of action. This rule modifies USC Title 28, conferring power from the Supreme Court to make rules of practice and equity are unaffected insofar as they relate to the rule-making power in admiralty. These sections together with 723B, I'm trying to skip over some of the little notes here, are continued insofar as they're not inconsistent with 723C.
It should be rule number 2. You're still
This is
reading
rule 2 of Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, is according to Cornell law.
Okay. When I found it, it was in the U.S. Code. And I cannot remember which code.
28,
It was
maybe?
28. Okay, yeah, it was 28.
Um,
You got it? You found it? Okay. She's bringing you the microphone. Now, you had a question this morning, right? I did. Did it get answered? Yes. Okay. All right, so who had their hand up that you found it? Go ahead.
Yeah. This rule modifies USC Title 28, former Section 384 suits in equity were not sustainable. USC Title 28, Section 723 and 730, C 2071, conferring power onto the Supreme Court to make rules of practice and equity are unaffected insofar as they relate to the rule-making power in admiralty. These sections, together with Section 723B, rules in action at law Supreme Court authorized to make, are continued insofar as they are not inconsistent. Section 723C. Is this what you're looking for?
Well, keep finding it. You all keep digging, because
Reference to actions at law or suits in equity in all statutes should now be treated as referring to a civil action prescribed in these rules.
okay, let me find it here.
That was part one. Part two is what I just mentioned. Part three of Rule 2. This rule follows in substantial and unusual introductory statements to code practices which provide for a single action and mode of procedure. I don't know if I'm reading the right one. I got this in corner laws.
Okay. No, just hang on. A substantive, what's in the legal system of me? Oh, hang on just a second. Let me see if I can find it.
Commencing an action towards the process, pleadings, motions not. I think that's it. I don't know.
Let me find it.
Found one that says there's one form of action, a civil action. That was it.
Huh. I posted it on the channel. Let me go to the channel and see if I can find the link. I want to show you this for a reason, okay? I'm going to do a search. Oh, here we go. Look up substantive right. 28 USC, subsection 2072. Here it is, okay? This is 28 USC, subsection 2072. Rules of procedure and evidence, powers to prescribe. The Supreme Court shall have the the Supreme Court shall have the power to prescribe general rules of practice and procedure and rules of evidence for cases in the United States District Courts, including proceedings before magistrate judges thereof in all courts of appeals. Number 2, B, which is rule number 2. Such rules shall not abridge, enlarge, or modify any substantive right. That's the second rule. So, general rules of practice and procedure, such rules shall not abridge, which means take away, enlarge, or modify any substantive right. This is pretty cool. So if you look up substantive, that's freedom document. So if you look up substantive right, and we did that, and you see what it is. Okay, so your substantive rights, there is, back to my point, there is remedy in the system. Can you all see that? That there is remedy in the system? Okay, so we'll go back to here. All right. And we get to choose where we're at. We get to choose where we're at. So these are your reading, at least put together a reading list. So you study up on your name, get your name, okay? Get your name, and then you have time to study up on equity, Blackstone's treatise on equity. You can also look up UCLA, okay? And they have a law review. It's posted on the channel, I believe it is. If not, Nancy's probably got it in the PDF library. UCLA Law Review on name change. You can also look up maxims on name change. And there's specific maxims that deals with names, the proper names of things. All right? What's something else I could, where did Elise go? Oh, she's busy. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, corpus juris secundum. Corpus juris secundum. We have that posted on the channel. You can find corpus juris secundum at archive, archive.org, O-R-G. Okay? And you can search in name change or proper name, and a whole bunch of stuff will come up. Also, AMJUR, which is A-M-J-U-R. That stands for American Jurisprudence. They have an entire section on equity. They have an entire section on Attorney General. They have an entire section on names, proper names. Study, study, study. That's about, if you spend 2 hours a night, that's about a month and a half's worth of reading. Every night for 2 or 3 hours. And if you read it slowly and comprehend it and look up words like I just showed you how to tear things apart, if you're reading something, don't read it really fast. Slow down. When you come to a word you don't know, don't keep reading. How fast you read has nothing to do with your comprehension and subject matter command. Read one sentence and make sure you comprehend every word in it. And then read the next one. And then read the next one. How I was doing it with some very complicated topics, subject matters, was I would read a paragraph, because usually an idea is conveyed in a paragraph, the first paragraph, and then there's supporting evidence, supporting evidence, supporting evidence, and then there's a conclusion where they bring it all together. That's how articles are written, okay? Here's the idea, here's what supports the idea, supports the idea, supports the idea, and here's the conclusion of why it all matters. Got it? So if you look at every article, or every treatise, or every judge's opinion, that's the way it's written. Tell the story, here's the overall conflict, here's what happened, here's this, and here's the conclusion. So take one paragraph. When you're reading this complicated stuff, take one paragraph, read it. Read it as fast as you want. And then go back and read it slowly and look up every word that you do not comprehend. And look it up in multiple places. When we do an internet search, what happens? We get all these links, don't we? Click on the first one, go down 2 or 3, click on that one, go down 2 or 3, and click on that one, go read them. Because they'll all be a little bit different. Okay? This is how you teach your brain and you expand your knowledge. This is how you get that standing. Okay? This is how you get subject matter command. And you can pull back your personam jurisdiction from the court because you know more about you than the court does. Okay? This is at law. Okay, so when you have your standing, just as even as an American national, The more you know, the more your standing is, the more solid your foundation is, the better your comprehension, the stronger you are. The more confidence you'll have. Okay? We need people, as many as possible, to be competent, to be capable, to be confident, and execute. Okay? And I'm teaching you how to do that, hopefully. Does it help when I break things down like this for you guys? Yes. We're not stupid, okay? We just have never forced our brain to work the way God intended it to. You know, when I started doing seminars, I was like, and I was reading this stuff, I was like, there's no way I can remember all this stuff. My first seminar was just a regurgitation of David's seminar. And then I said, there's no way I can remember all this stuff, but I wanted to teach more. Why should I be talking and teaching in a seminar, which you can go on Rumble and watch Out of Babylon series for free at the leisure of your own house? Let's expand on that. Let's dig a little deeper. And that's when I started looking at these things and digging deeper and digging deeper. And it was like, I can't remember all this stuff to say it in a seminar. So I give it to God. I give it to my Creator and say, you'll give it back to me when I need it. I know you will. I have faith. And then when I'm talking in front of a group like this, and many of you have been to my seminars, and it's like, what was I saying? And I'll look at the group and say, what was I saying? I lost my place. And you guys all think I'm asking you. I'm asking him to restart the download because I lost my place. When we're up here, Elise, Kiki, I mean, anybody that's done a seminar, okay? Lori, she does her seminars. Justina, she does seminars. You know, and when you're doing a seminar and you're getting your download, and somebody asks you a question just out of the blue or interrupts the flow, it stops our download, doesn't it, Kiki? Absolutely. That's why we ask you to hold your questions, because we're receiving this stuff back from our Creator, because there's no way we can keep this in our head. Everything that we know, Justina, it's hard to keep it in there, isn't it? It is. So we just got to give it to God, and then He helps it. I lost my place. And the crowd thinks we're asking them, which we are, but it ultimately comes from God. The download starts again. So when you're doing this and you're learning this stuff, don't try to keep it all in your head. Read it, comprehend it, make sure you comprehend it, and then give it to God. Because He will, I can attest to it, He will give it back to you when you need it. I don't write anything down. I don't have prepared slides. I never know what I'm going to say at a seminar. How am I doing so far? Right. And it's all coming from God. It's what I look in your eyes and I see if you're with me. I see all the comments on the Telegram groups and things of that nature. I talk to people when I have time to, and I feel where this movement's at. And we need this. We've needed it for a while. And what happened in Texas gave us the opportunity to grow, to find that missing piece. And it would have never happened if David and Bonnie weren't standing up as tall and hard as they were. And they will be back, mark my words. Okay. Okay. Now, so you've got this list of leading over here. So the name change is one thing. Now, Kiki, I don't think I should go into much more than this in the public.
I guess the question is which part is public and which not is, okay.
Yeah.
Which part is public and which part is not?
We can wipe that. Now, we can, when I talked about the judgment, the foreign judgment, yes, it's out there. It's statutorily out there. You can go read it, but they do not tell you what happens if you blow it. They don't tell you that.
They tell you in the Bible.
Then the Bible, it tells you. In these things, won't tell you. But once you've walked through it or been with a close friend and walked through it, you know damn sure what can happen to you. And there's quite a few of us in this room that have experienced it firsthand. And it's not pretty, is it, Katie? that the system can turn on us in a heartbeat. How many of you have had the system come after your kids? Or know someone who's had the system come after your kids? It ain't fun. And imagine blowing equity. That's a cakewalk compared to what they'll do to you if you blow equity. So this is why I'm giving you the warning that foreign judgment, do not try to do it by yourself. Wait till someone who's been through it a few times with other people, one of our national coaches, walks you through it so that you don't hurt yourself, okay? Will you make me that promise? Yes. Please? I've got to be able to sleep at night, okay? And if someone's out there fighting the good fight because you're in harm's way, because you want your kids back, or they're taking your house or your car, please be careful, okay? Find someone who's already done it and let them be your guide. And here's the hardest thing, especially for us guys, is to listen and take advice, okay? Because guys, not everything can be fixed with a bigger hammer, all right? Sometimes you break it beyond repair, all right? So anyhow, we got the name. I told them what to study, and there's a whole bunch of other steps, but I'm kind of hesitant to talk about it.
Well,
in the public.
I think that some of the things that can be talked about in the public are the equivalent to the private, just on the reverse side. So it's okay to talk about it in the public, but if you reverse it to the private, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I want to share so much with you guys, but there's only so much we can share in the public because we're skating on thin ice, okay? I got to protect Kiki. She's right there, and we've got to protect certain things and certain people, and it's difficult to be able to share it while we're live streaming. The big part that I wanted to get out live to the public happened this morning, okay? Which was how do we make it make sense? Why did this happen? How can they do this to those people, okay? And then bring everything together with the new information and how it all kinds of, like Kiki said, we got all these steps up here, okay? And here, this one's the name change. How do all these steps merge together? You know, that's one thing that we talked about during the break, you know, how they all merge together. And that one step is enforcement. When we're doing all these steps by ourselves, we have to be the enforcement arm. Once we get the name, we get the order. Okay, I know what we're talking about. We get the order. I know what I'm going to talk about. Thank you. And then we do the judgment. We make the deposit. We fully constitute the trust. We do assignments along the way, those sort of things for different things. But I'm not sure if I want to talk about that in the public.
Well, let's say it like
You know,
this.
so-
If you have a court order and
Yeah.
you want the law to be behind you, you would have it enforced, right?
Yes.
So if you have your name order, you would want your name order to be enforced over all other names, right? Yeah?
Yep.
So if you have all of your paperwork done at the top that you were pointing to, and you just changed your name and corrected those to match your court order, then all of those contracts could be enforced as well, right? So I think we pretty much covered it.
Okay, cool deal. So, yeah, that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's going to be a little bit different because we're going to not have the speakers on for the people that are watching, even, you know, so they'll be able to see some slides, but they won't be able to hear the voice, I think. However, Kiki wants to work it. She's got to feel comfortable with what she's doing. So let me talk about what I just got my download for, okay? My struggle is knowing what I can talk about in the public and what I can't. And I'm still working on that because I just gobbled it up. And this is my first seminar where I'm talking about this topic. Okay, so you go in for your name, okay? You do a name petition or a name application by filling out a form. Okay, the name petition gets put into the court, and you get what's called a name order or a name decree. Know the difference between an order and a decree. An order is done at law, a decree is done in equity. Now I say that because that's what Black's Law 4th and 6th defines it as. Okay? So some states, the order is no legal significance. However, in equity, a decree makes all the difference. Okay? Pennsylvania, for me, because I have an out-of-state birth certificate, is going to be a decree. For Tia, I'm thinking, honey, if I speak out of turn, I'm sorry, because she's watching. Hers would be a name order and a correction of the record. Of the record. So what she might have to do is subpoena the records, because in Pennsylvania, it's 105 years. Those records are sealed. So like in Maryland, I went down, had to call them, didn't know what to do. I called them. The girl tried to convince me that I was goofy 3 times. And then on the 4th time, she says, oh, well, what you want is a hospital record, book copy. Well, damn. Then she gave me the answer. So I went and got my hospital record, the book copy. And it's got my name in proper form. Right? Because it's in my mother's own hand. Now, my mother, at the tender years of 18, she filled this out. She knew. My mom was sharp, okay? She came from a very poor family, all right? But she was sharp. She's fresh out of high school. She wrote down my name as a Christian name on the form in her own hand. Robert. Middle is Lee. And then the last name she knew had some special significance. But she didn't know what we know today. That was 57 years ago. And she wrote my last name like this: Lawrence, which is full size, capital, and then subtext, all capital. That's the family surname. She knew about the family surname, but she didn't really comprehend anything beyond that. So do I have to go back and correct that? Yeah. We have to do an amendment. I need my name to correct the record. There's an error, mistake of fact, an error on the record. And the law won't stand for errors. So I have a reason just for that alone. And then where it said informant, INFORMAN, and she wrote, it said mother, sign here. So my mother, being the smart ass that she is, you know where I get it from, she wrote this down, MOTHER. She wasn't giving him her name. You see? So my mom had some kind of an idea about the name. And conversations I had before she passed in 2012, conversations I had over the years, she was right there. She was right there, knowing that something was wrong with the system, that it had something to do with the name. And she fought against the system until she was in her 60s, and she finally just gave up because her health left her. And then she died before she died in 2012. And she was still a young woman. But she knew something was wrong. She didn't have a David Lester Straight video to go watch, or a Bobby Lawrence video to go watch, or a seminar to go attend. But she sent me a message, and I'm going to try to stop crying here, but she sent me a message from the grave. And she knew. And I would have never known it until I got my hospital book copy. So, Mom, we're going to do it. Ah! So, Pennsylvania's 105 years. So, correction of the record. So let me back up. This is specific. This is specific. So you get your name order or your name decree. All right. Now, what do you got to do with it? Remember, everything is about verification and proof of facts. And as Kiki's going to teach you when she gets the microphone full time or whenever she wants to, she's going to teach you about how important seals are. She calls them coins. So we have to start getting some coins. And like we talked this morning about full faith and credit, how do we give one of our assignees, a trustee, a judge, how do we give any, you want your electric bill paid? Okay, do an assignment. Do an assignment. Send them a birth certificate. Call the legal department. Make it happen. No more electric bill. David did that. He was paying an electric bill at the RT. It was $900 a month. The bill would come zero, already paid. He set it up for the little ranch set, the little him and Bonnie's house on the 14 acres. That was running $450 to $500 a month. It took him about 3 phone calls. No more electric bill. All he had to do was authorize it with his autograph and send it back in. Okay, so we have to get something done to this order. What do we do with it? So we have to get it certified. I can talk about this in the public, right? Absolutely. We have to get it certified, number one. And that happens by the clerk. Okay? The clerk certifies that this is a valid order of the court. So there's a stamp, date, and time on there, and then when it's certified, the clerk puts his seal, date and time, and his signature on it, or her signature if she's a female. Okay? You now have a certified order by the clerk of court of a name decree or a name order. It just got its first seal. All right? What do you do with it after that? Well, we have to have the judge do an attestation. All right? He has to attest that this is his intent. So that's called exemplified. We have to have it exemplified. And that's where the clerk types up a little letter and says this is an exemplification and blah, 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 blah. And then the clerk takes it to the judge, and the judge puts his signature on there again, another seal. Now it's exemplified. Now you've got a certified, exemplified name, order, and decree. Is it enforceable yet? Maybe. But we're not going to give them a maybe, are we? We're not going to count on the luck of the draw. So what do? Well, we have to have full faith and credit. How do we get the faith that that clerk and that judge was duly elected and duly authorized to have that authorization to issue the order, to adjudicate the matter, issue the order, to certify it, and to exemplify it? How can we have faith that they're in office properly? Well, how do we get full faith and credit? Authentication. At the lowercase state, otherwise known as the Secretary of State. Okay, for whatever state you lay your head. That's the first one. Now, do you have to have it double authenticated? This is where operation of law kicks in. This is where it's called practicing law. You see, we practice law because it's never perfected, because everybody has an opinion. And the only time there's not conflict is when people agree. attorney's job, whether it's your attorney or the other attorney or it's a prosecuting attorney or it's a defense attorney, an attorney's job, period, is to deal with conflict or contests. So how do we make this order by operation of law? We've got our authentication from the Secretary of State for Texas or Pennsylvania. Now, how do we make it incontestable? Where nobody can argue it? And how do we pull the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the
Land.
How do we pull land into this? The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Where do men and women live? On the land. Do you want your land back? Yes. So let's go get our land. Let's go get our Constitution. I love the Constitution. I want it on everything. I'm going to sprinkle that shit around like hot sauce at a barbecue. So let's go to the authentication for the United States Secretary of State. Now it pulls in Article 4, Section 1, full faith and credit.
Yeah.
Now you've got that constitutional provision because it says so. Why does it matter? Because the Supreme Court of the United States said so. Because we, the people, told them that that's the way it's going to be. So, is there any question about this, what so far I've put on here? You don't have to get it authenticated as Secretary of State, but why give them a way out?
Yeah.
I want to pull the Constitution in here. I want to pull the law of the land in here. I want to make it enforceable unquestionably. It said incontestable.
Yep.
That means there's no contest here. There's no lawyers involved because it's a settled matter. It's res judicata. It's done, over with. There is no conflict. I'm going to assign you, and you don't have an opinion about it. Why? Because Congress said so, and the Supreme Court of the United States of America said, yep, that's what it means. There's no contest there. When you make the deposit, you just turned it into a bond, and it's incontestable. You don't have to have the authentication up here. You don't have to have the federal authentication. And you're going to learn tomorrow, I think. You're going to teach them about federal tomorrow? Federal is
Maybe
a
the
covenant.
definition, but
Okay,
not
federal.
the actual.
Okay, cool. So you'll find out tomorrow what federal actually means. It'll blow your mind. So anyhow, you don't have to get this second authentication. If you want it to be a fully incontestable, executable bond, you have to.
Yeah.
If you want to do other steps, which I'm not going to talk about, you have to drop your birth certificate in there, double authenticated. Nothing happens, nothing is fully constituted until a deposit of value is exchanged. So a trust is formed. How do you form a trust? What are the four elements of a trust? Intent, purpose. Does anybody know? Do a search. Look your shit up right now. Do a search. Elements of a trust. And I'll give you the other part. There's three parties to a trust. There's the grantor, the trustee, and the beneficiary. There can be other ones. Depends on how complicated you want to make your trust. But there's three parties, and there's a minimum of four elements. So somebody find me what the four elements of a trust is. Okay? And I'm going to show you why you want consideration. Why you want everything as possible. It's all about seals. I'm going to show you why you want that second authentication from the federal level. Because you're constituting a trust. And you can do that with making a deposit of consideration. So how many of you found it? Justina, you're up, babe. The four elements of a trust.
Four basic elements of a trust are the trustee, the trust property, the trust document, and known or discernible beneficiaries.
Okay, there, keep on going. What that is that's a commingling. Who was that said that? Okay, so what you got was a commingling of the parties and the elements. Okay, is that an article?
This is from Iowa State University, but I've also got some here.
Yeah, keep digging.
Competency, consistency, integrity, and compassion are the four elements of trust?
Those,
Or no?
that is strictly what would be considered, when you're setting up a trust, there's things that govern the trust. Okay, so for my trust is to be governed by the laws of nature and nature's God, and shall be further defined by operation of the trust as the trustees and the grantor intend.
How about the grantor, assets, trustee, the beneficiary, and terms?
That is also an intermingling, a commingling of the parties to a trust and the elements of a trust. I'm going to give you the first two. Intent, purpose. I'll even give you the third one, so you only have to find one more. Specific, S-P-E-C, specific, I can't spell specific.
SPE.
Specific res, R-E-S.
Yeah.
Res has value. Now somebody find me the third missing element. I just told you the parties. The grantor, the trustee, and the beneficiary. That's a minimum. I just gave you three minimums of a trust. Did you look up?
Location.
Did you look up? Try doing this search. 4 elements of a trust. Did you do that? Okay. Now I did post this on the channel, but it's been a while back. I'm serious. This is super, super, super important. Intent, purpose, and specific res. There's one missing.
Location of assets.
The what? It's what? Substance. That's your over here's your parties. You have a grantor, you have a beneficiary, and you have, what's the other one? The trustee. This are the parties. The parties has to spell out something. And it's what? It's what? I just want to tell you, but I'm not going to do it. Come on.
Just do it. Just do it. Location.
Yes! Yes! Execution! How do you execute a trust?
Sign it.
A trust is formed every single day. How many of you bought a candy bar? How many of you mean only 3 people bought a candy bar in their entire lifetime? I think some of you are lying. How many of you ever bought a candy bar? Okay, everybody in the damn room bought a candy bar. Those that didn't admit it are liars. Okay, when you buy a candy bar, it's a trust. You walk up and you pick up the candy bar. It's got a pretty cool picture on it, right? Man, I want that thing. What's your favorite candy? What's your favorite candy bar? Reese's Cup. What's your favorite candy bar? 100 grand, right? Hershey's milk chocolate. Whatever it is. Man, look at that Reese's Cup. What's your favorite candy bar?
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth, what's yours? I don't have one. You don't have one? I like Almond Joy. I like that coconut. You know, coconut is a natural antibiotic. It also helps you with acid indigestion. if you got acid indigestion, go get yourself at the grocery store, get yourself a bag of that shredded coconut. Try to buy a pack without sugar in it. And you got acid indigestion, get yourself a big wad in the palm of your hand and eat it. 10 minutes later, you won't have any more acid indigestion. Okay, now, the shit that's in my head. So you go up and you buy that Reese's cup. Okay, it's got a picture of it. Can you see the actual candy bar? You trust that there's an actual candy bar inside that wrapper, right? Right? Okay, so you walk up to the counter and you got this candy, but you don't know for sure that there's a candy bar in there, right? You don't know until you open it, right? So you go up and how much is this? Well, when I was a kid, it was like 25 cents. Now it's like $5. And if you're in New York, it's $11.50. So you go up and you're like, I'm going to buy this candy bar. Maybe I need to get some milk to go with it. Ow! But anyhow, you put that on the counter. They look at it. They scan it. They say, give me some money. You hand them money for something you think is a candy bar. A trust is now formed. Because you gave them money, you gave them consideration in the expectation that you're going to be the beneficiary of a wonderful Reese's Cup candy. You don't know for sure that it's a Reese's Cup candy. So now you're walking out of the store and you're holding the candy bar and it's an executed trust. And when you open it and you eat it, you're now the beneficial owner of that candy bar for at least a couple hours. So how is a trust? We're getting back to this. So the double authentication, if you only have a state authentication, you have to drop consideration in there. With only one authentication, it doesn't have the Constitution associated with it, and it's not incontestable at the federal level, which means it applies across all states. So you have to, when you go to these other steps, which is the deposit, the execution, the assignment, if there's no consideration, there's no trust. That's why if you are lacking that, you have to drop the bond in there, because there has to be consideration. So now, we do this, there's consideration. Incontestable. And you just pulled the Constitution, the law of the, into that order. Now, you walk into a courtroom, you're getting ready to execute. And you walk into that courtroom. And I hand you the double authenticated birth certificate here. And I hand you the order with the assignment. And I walk away. I just gave you a $100 million bond, of which you're only allowed to take $1 to settle the debts. So I just handed you that. And you're holding that in trust as the fiduciary, Mr. Clerk. And you're going to assign it to a judge who becomes the trustee with a duty to perform. You just constituted the trust. You gave him consideration. The birth certificate is consideration. It's the title claim to your estate. And then you gave him the name order. It's also consideration when you double authenticate it. And that is enforceable. And you walked away with faith in divine providence. It's a trust. You just privatized the public charitable trust. Got it? And that's why it's so important. Now, who's going to enforce all those little things at the top I wrote down? You just transferred it by way of a deposit, consideration, and assignment. You transferred the responsibility to protect the trust res. What's the trust res? The estate. You handed them the estate with the birth certificate. You handed them the enforcement document with the name order. And both of them were valuable consideration. Now they got to protect the estate and enforce the order with prejudice against anybody who tries to take their trust res. What's the trust res? Your kids, your house, your car, your body, your health insurance, your life insurance, your inheritance, your kids' inheritance, your father's inheritance, your mother's inheritance, your grandfather's inheritance, and your grandmother's inheritance. And you're entitled to all of them. Am I making shit up?
You are not making shit up.
Can you feel it? Now who's supposed to enforce it? You running around trying to get your paper recorded at the recorder's office and trying to convince a counter troll that you're this and trying to argue with a cop alongside the road that you have the right to travel, and he says, well, I'm just going to lock you up. Step out of the car. What law did I break? Not a damn one. You violated a public policy.
Yeah.
There's no victim, but they're going to point a gun at you and take your car and throw you in jail? What's wrong with that? Instead, you just fully constituted the trust. And the trust res is your right to travel, and your automobile, and your children, the place where you lay your head. And it's their damn duty to enforce it and protect it. And guess what? They do.
They do.
But if you screw up and don't give the consideration at the right time, place, and manner, if you don't give the consideration at the right time, place, and manner, and you haven't set the stage properly, you're going to go over what properly means, right?
We're going to go over that.
Tomorrow. Properly. If she doesn't, look up the word proper. Dig deep. Go to Oxford, Old Oxford. Find out what it means. So, properly. And it just left me. What was I talking about before I said properly?
Definition of properly.
Before the definition of property. Yes. You've got to do everything properly. You've got to set the stage. You've got to do it in the right manner, form, and time. The right time, place, and manner. It's got to be done. You can't execute a bond in the public. You can't do an assignment in the public. Okay? Because it's a private matter. And then once you get your name done and all that stuff, now you set about, like Kiki says, sprinkle that shit around like hot sauce in a barbecue. You put it on everything. And then all those papers we did for David now becomes their responsibility to enforce. And we can be at peace and raise our grandbabies.
Yeah.
Okay? And teach the next generation. I'm looking around the room because we've all got a little patina on us. There's a couple young ones around. Okay? But we can raise them grandbabies and not have to worry about money. And we can claim our inheritance of our grandparents and pass it on to the next generation so they don't have to worry about where they're going to lay their head. And it's our job, men. It's our job to teach our offspring how to do what you're learning how to do in this room today. Because if we men don't stand up and take on our biblical responsibility and teach this, learn this, and teach this, we're going to be right back where we're at a generation from now. What's coming? If you knew what I know, what's coming is going to be a little difficult. And once we get through that little difficult period, things are going to be really good. And it's up to us, men and women, to change things and fix it, and make it right. And we're going to do it, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Aren't we?
Yes,
right on,
absolutely.
Right on. Okay, all right. So now, is there anybody, and I mean anybody, that has a question about this process of the name petition? We get the order decreed, we get it certified by the clerk, we get it exemplified by the clerk's cover letter, and then the judge signing off on it, and we get it authenticated at the state level, and then it's your choice. I'm not saying you got to, I'm saying it's your choice. You choose whether you want it done at the federal level and bring in the Article 4, Section 1, and bring in the Constitution, and it's up to you to do that. Yeah? On the microphone, please, so they can see you on the live.
What if your birth certificate already has upper and lowercase? So you're not going to need to do the name change, right?
No, you need to do the name change, okay? You do not have to correct the bond itself. See, people who have their birth certificate in the all uppercase, like some states issue the birth certificate and the certificate of live birth and the mother's letter, all that stuff is already in proper form, okay? That just means you're a step ahead of the game. For Tia, she's going to have to do subpoena the records. She's going to look at the records and find out what her mother actually put on the paper. If that's an error, it has to be corrected. Her mother's still alive, so her mother can do that by an affidavit for correction of error, mistake of fact, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole different kinds of steps. Once you learn the remedies, you can sprinkle that remedy around like hot sauce, and you know that the what ifs, you already have the answer. This is just the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. All right? Once you've been through it enough times and you've studied enough. So in your case, Amy, you got to text this one, right? So you don't have to worry about it. Send it off, get it double authenticated. Now you got an executable bond in the proper form. And you have standing to conform the name on the public records and convey it to the private. That's an extra level of standing that you already have in place. Okay? You're one up on us. All right? You're actually ahead of Tia. She's got to fix hers. Okay? Yeah.
I just want to qualify this so I understand. When you're saying a name petition, that's about getting the birth certificate, the long form.
No.
Okay,
That's a good question. He's got microphones so the people online can hear. Now restate your question.
The question is, I just want to clarify the understanding of the name petition, because I'm in the state of Pennsylvania as well. When you
Ooh.
request your birth certificate, I have to go through the orphans court, and I've gotten the letter. From there, are you talking about getting your birth certificate through the name petition
Well, of course you
and then
picked the-
authenticated it?
Of course you have to live in the most difficult state in the union.
Try the land
I don't know of
patents.
any other state that has a 105-year seal on it, do you?
I think Massachusetts has 100 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
When you say that, what do you mean? Because when I went to investigate, it's only since 1953 there was a law written, and I went through that process to get it. I just have to finish.
so what do you get? Well, get what? What is it?
You're going to get the long form birth certificate.
Okay,
So,
the long
can I
form
ask-
birth certificate is the most information allowed by law. Hang on, Kiki. The long form birth certificate, as they defined it, is the most information that's allowed by law to be shared with the public. It is not your hospital book copy. It will come in an all capital name. I know because I've already tried it. Okay, so there is one guy, that got a court order for his proper full records. And he's been 6 months trying to get them. They finally sent him something the other day, and it was all bullshit. Delay tactic, professional time waster. So you've asked about one of the most difficult states. In Pennsylvania, it's very different, okay? The way I see it. Now, I'm still learning. Tia's still teaching me because I don't have time to learn. I'm too busy doing this stuff. So you're going to have to get a name order. So you're going to have to petition the court. Where you're talking about is the reason and the standing for the name order, which is going to be a name decree which comes out of the orphans court. So your reason for the name decree is to secure your rights, titles, and interests and to correct mistake of fact and errors that may be present on the record, okay? Or you have reason to believe that there is errors on the record. That's going to be your reason in your petition for it being necessary to have a decree. Now, the one little thing that I have been that's dropped onto me, and I got this out of the judge's orders. The judges will help you, but they can't practice law, but they'll help you. They'll give you hidden instructions in your denials, because you will get denied the first time, believe me, okay, in Pennsylvania. So, in Pennsylvania, the name decree is done in the form of a petition. Each county is different. Franklin County doesn't have a form. They tell you to go to York County, download their form, scratch off York County, and write in Franklin County. And then their form has blah, 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 and bullshit. What I did was I took the elements that they were looking for and wrote my own petition and submitted the petition. Okay? And that was not the reason for the denial. The reason for the denial was I'm in the wrong court and there's no legal significance because I started out at law. Okay? Then she came back with, it's not a significant reason. So when I amended the petition, which you're allowed to do in Civil Rules of Procedure in Pennsylvania, when I amended the petition, then she denied it for another reason. Because I was in the wrong court and I didn't see it the first time. Okay? So what you're telling me and asking me about is the reason for your petition. Now, what is a name decree? A name decree is you want a name decree from this to that. It's always from this or to that. How many of you saw that? Was it you that posted the video of that movie star that was dancing? I can't think of his name. But he was dancing to a song, and the song was this or that. Perfect. Christopher Walken. Perfect. This or that. So you need a name order or a name decree from this, all capitals, to this, upper and lowercase. Okay? Now, it's not a change in the spelling of the name. So it's not a technically, legally cognizable remedy that can be granted to change a name when you're not changing the name. What you're doing is you're correcting the style of the name to conform to a proper noun. To eliminate errors and mistake of fact between my person and my estate. And I have reason to believe that there's been fiduciary breach of trust that needs to be corrected by me. And that's it. Nothing more. Did that make sense? Okay. No. I didn't say it. God told me to say it. Somebody tell him, he asked me if I could say it one more time. And I was like, no. I'm serious. I can't. For me to say it exactly that same way again, it ain't going to happen. I've tried it. Yeah. So there's enough people in the room that heard me. So somebody tell him what I said, because I can't remember it. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. So how do we conform? Were you here before this morning? I can't believe I didn't see you. That's my brother right there from another mother. Yeah. So how did I say it? Because I can't remember it. I really can't. Does anybody want to try? She wrote it down. Go ahead, honey.
I did.
Are you in Pennsylvania too? Hey, dude, are you in Pennsylvania too? Oklahoma. Well, yours is going to be totally different. No, this guy here. You're in Pennsylvania. You're in where, Ohio? Oklahoma. Yours is different.
That statement was important, what you just said.
Okay, what about your... And it's in Pennsylvania? What year were you born? Is it the original birth? Wait a minute. So he's born in 64, and yours is in the original style. I would want to see that because it's... You had it with you? Bring that pig up here. Right now.
But Bobby, my question is on the national site.
Now, wait a minute. We lost the room. Hear the room? When you're public speaking, if you lose the room, stop. Okay? So wait till he comes up here. Just hang on a second. So you got that pig? Well, hurry up and bring it up here. I'm gonna come right back to you, honey. Don't lose your question. Let me see it. That's not a birth certificate. That's not a birth certificate. Nope.
Well,
It's on green
what I
paper for
brought with
one.
me-
It's a certification of birth. It's not a birth certificate.
Certification. This is what you have?
That is not a birth certificate. Go to that Kiki see it. That's not. Yeah, let Kiki see it.
It was issued in 69. I'm
Yeah, that's not a birth certificate. So let her look at it.
That's the closest thing
Yep.
that I have to birth certificate.
That's a record of an event.
This is out
That's
of the
not
city.
a birth certificate
I'm
bond.
adopted to.
Yep. Let Kiki talk to you. So hurry up. We're losing the room.
You asked me to do that.
Okay?
So this is a city issued, right? Is it city or state? Philadelphia, that's the city. So this is chattel paper. This is confirmation that you are part of the city plantation.
Yep.
Yahoo.
That's chattel paper. That's not a birth certificate. Okay, go have a seat. All right, thank you. Now, let's get. I need the room. Guys, everything that's coming out of my head cost me a lot to learn it. Okay? So go ahead.
Before I correctly looked on the state national site, I ordered 2 birth certificates.
Yeah?
It's just a modern version of the old one that I have similar to
Right,
his.
right.
But when I went to the site, it explained that
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, you have to request to get the long form birth certificate. You have to go in and request because it's under order. Whatever the state law was in
Did you get a
1953.
it's under order what I don't I'm
There was a
following.
law put into effect
Yeah.
that you could not get that long form.
That's well, no. The long form's different than the actual record.
Well, that's what I'm trying to,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still not understanding you
Did,
because.
did you
this-
receive the long form certificate yet?
No, I have to
That's
file
right.
that, but I don't know that should be
Yeah.
doing that because what you're saying is different.
Okay, okay. If you get a piece of toilet paper with a judge's signature on it and go through exemplification, authentication certified by the clerk, and you get an authenticated double. Wait a minute. If you get a piece of toilet paper and run it through the process, you can execute it. So my answer to you is it doesn't matter because there's no legal significance. Why? Because the judges said so. So you can get a double authenticated birth certificate in your all capital name. You can execute it, form the public trust, petition the court to release the records. Once you get the records, now you can correct the error on the records. Once you correct the error on the records, then you get them to issue you a proper style birth certificate. You get the proper style birth certificate, you get a double authenticated, then you go back to the court and you privatize the public trust to private with an assignment. So you got to go forward, get what you need, back up, back up, back up, get what you need, then you go forward again, now you're going to privatize the trust.
Okay, so
Okay?
I still have to do.
You're worrying about things that you don't need to worry about, hon. Okay? I don't know what you're trying to ask me. Okay?
So what the state national site tells you to do is what I've been doing, and that's not this.
The state national site, what I started,
National,
okay, we're starting to lose the room, hon. So I'm trying to find out what you're doing so I can answer the question before we lose the room.
so when I went on to the state national.
When you went onto the
site,
state
David's
national site, yeah.
It tells you certain states when you go to get your.
Okay, I got you now. Now I'm tracking. Now I'm tracking. Okay, so see if this helps. Guys, listen up. I need your help. Nicely. The state national site is to become an American state national. And the instructions on there are to execute the trust in the public. It does not have, it hasn't been updated yet because we're still learning to execute the trust in private. And it probably won't be public on the state national site. Remember, state national is not the woman sitting in front of me. That's that thing in your pocket called your person. Okay? So those instructions are for the public. What we're talking about is the name order to flip everything to private. Okay? Don't worry about it. Get the long form birth certificate, run it through the system. Now you got consideration. It's something stronger that you can make the deposit, do an assignment to protect your estate, and you can go back with the name order and force vital records to protect or to issue it in proper style, then you can take proper style, run it through the authentication process, go back to the judge, make the deposit, and fully constitute the trust with an assignment. Okay? Boom. See? Now, has anyone done that yet in Pennsylvania? Not that I know of. Do you want to be the guinea pig?
I think I'm there.
Yeah. Well, don't
But
do anything that's going to hurt you.
Well, and I also remember hearing in Texas that they told you get that first.
Texas is different. Yeah, Texas
when
is.
I was at the
Yeah.
But they said don't get it authenticated. Get it, but don't do it right away and get it authenticated.
Right. That's because we were still trying to figure out what was happening with this new system. We now know. Okay. See, things change and are modified the more we learn. The more we learn, things change. The more of us that go in there, the more they're going to react to us going in there. And if we go in there knowing what we're doing, they're going to react positively. If we go in there not knowing what we're doing and piss them off, they're going to react negatively. You see? So I don't mean to be so short with you, hon. I wish I had 2 hours to sit here and walk through it with you.
I get it.
Okay, cool. So you know we're doing what the instructions are in public. You can go ahead and do the public part. Go ahead and get the thing. Go ahead and try it. Try it. It might work. In my mind's eye, it might work. Now, if you talk to my wife, she might tell you I'm nuts. Okay? Now, you're in Pennsylvania, so you need to get hooked up with all the other people in Pennsylvania. Where's Connie at? Connie back there. See Connie back there? You need to get hooked up with Connie, and Connie's going to be one of the first ones that goes through Pennsylvania. Probably her and my wife are going to go through together. Okay? What's what? Is there a coach in here? No, there's no coach in here from California. Is there? There's a coach, a national coach. No, because Arrogant Prepper didn't come. He was supposed to be here, but it was too long of a drive, and he cut himself too short. He thought it wasn't as long a drive as it was. So he wasn't going to make it until tomorrow, so that's why he didn't come. So anyhow, one more question, then we're going to take a break. It's 3 o'clock. Justina's picking who it is.
Thank you. Yes, I've got a question just to clarify my understanding. So as grantor, I go and give the deposit to the clerk to give it to the judge who's the trustee. Who's the beneficiary in that situation? So I can be grantor and beneficiary?
Yes,
Okay.
for a minute. Okay? My wife just sent me a text message. She says, it might help if you do a comparison between state, national process, and private process. I just did that, honey, but they're on a time lag, so thank you for that. And she says, they do not see the separation between the two processes. Let them know each state is different. She tells me, slow down. Hello, baby.
Hi, honey.
How are we doing?
Hello, baby. Hi, honey.
She says, hi, Wayne. We're on a time lag.
So, let me get away from the screen.
Yeah, get away from the speaker.
All right.
Okay. So how did I screw that up?
I can tell because of what happened with YouTube today.
Because of what happened with who?
They messed up.
What happened with who?
YouTube.
Oh, yeah, YouTube. What about it?
It's messed up your mojo for today.
So she said I should just stop and give it to Kiki.
No, I did not.
All right. I'm doing the best I can, baby. Pennsylvania's a tough nut. You got to teach me when I get home.
All right, just slow down. Let them know this is a totally separate process from the state national. Let them know that state national, you can do that. keeps you totally in the public. You're going to be co-trustee and co-beneficiary of your estate. The private process gets you totally out of the public.
Awesome.
Okay? So I see people, I can tell their questions. They're trying to put this name thing in with the state national. It's real different.
Right. Got it. Thanks for the clarification, baby. How long were you screaming at the computer monitor before you sent me the text message?
That's why I texted you.
I could hear you all the way here in Tennessee. And then the phone went bling. I love you, honey. I'll see you soon.
Okay, love you.
All right, bye-bye. I love my little Diggler. You know, that's her nickname. That's her nickname, Diggler. You know why I call her Diggler? Because when we first moved into our house where we're living now, the yard was terrible. It was atrocious. And she was always in, if it wasn't raining out or snowing, she was out in the yard digging something up. Digging weeds up, planting something, doing something in the dirt, had dirt up to her chin, and just loving life. So I said, you're just a little Diggler, aren't you? So it kind of stuck. Well, guess what? Since she gave up on the yard work because it's not important and she started digging into this law stuff, she's still my little Diggler. I just love her. She digs deep, and then when we're having coffee in the morning, she tells me what I did wrong the day before. I just love her. She completes me. You know, guys, the three best sayings that'll get you out of any trouble with your wife. I am so sorry. You are so beautiful, and yes, dear. And mean it when you say it. Yes, dear. You are so right. Okay, cool. Now, where were we? Where were we? Break. All right, let's take a break. Okay. So, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? What's the pace of the things? I'm trying to get done before 7:30, but I got a certain amount of content I want to cover. So, we got to be out of here by 8 because the security system turns on automatically, and I don't want the policeman knocking on the door for the wrong reason. Okay. So, intent, purpose, execution, specific res. Part of your execution of a trust is how the trust is going to operate. It can operate under statutory procedures, or it can operate under the laws of nature, and nature's God. Okay? So you decide how your private trust operates. Operation of law or God's natural law, nature's law. Now this, had somebody come up, a couple people actually, come up and ask me about the birth certificate and the name decree and the double authentication. And this was a couple people that asked me this, okay? And they needed a little bit more clarity on what I meant by the double authentication, name decree, and whatever. So I'm just going to go back over this and recap it. So some people think I'm going too slow and I'm going too fast for others. And, you know, I got to do what I got to do. So anyhow, the name petition. You've got to research how to do a name petition in your state. Research it. There's instructions. If you don't know what a word means, go look it up. Use Black's Law 4th Dictionary. Okay? Use Black's Law 6th. Why do I like those two? I love Black's Law 4th Dictionary. And here's why. First off, it's posted for free on the channel. All 9 editions are. Now, Black's Law 4th, I love it for this reason. It's easily searchable. Okay? You can cut and paste from it. And when you look something up, like substantive law, or you look up something like decree, it will give an explanation of what it is. And then For some of them, like decree, they will give you case law. If you really want to gain standing, go look that case up and read it. That will give you subject matter jurisdiction and relevancy to claim stare decisis. Write this down, stare decisis, okay? And it will also, huh? Can I spell it? You asked me to do the most difficult thing I could possibly do. Stare decisis. If you type it into your search engine, it'll autocorrect or it'll give you some, did you mean this? I have to look it up, hon. Stare decisis. Root words are a stare decision. And it's just like a stairs, okay? It's vertical or it can be horizontal. Okay? Maybe I should look it up and put it on the screen. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me look it up, okay? Did somebody? Okay. That's not it. Let me see here. Boom. Name change, Bobby stuff. Proper name. We the people. Let me see here. Let me see. Let it grind on it here a minute. $6.12. Let me see if this is it. That's PowerPoint. I don't want that. That's not it. Just give me a second here. Here we go. I got it. I found it. All right. This is my right to travel. Superior title claim. Paper. I write too much. Look at this. I wrote all this stuff down because when I wrote this, I was of the mind frame that I needed to clobber them. And I'm glad that it didn't get delivered. Oh, come on. Res judicata and stare decisis. Can you all see that? Yes. Okay, fantastic. Let me zoom in just a little bit. All right, now. Res judicata. Well, I talked about stare decisis. Res judicata and stare decisis. Stare decisis is the doctrine that courts will adhere to precedent or precedent, however you want to say it, in making their decisions. Stare decisis means to stand by things decided. When a court faces a legal argument, if a previous court has ruled on the same or a closely related issue, then the court will make their decision in alignment with the previous court's decision. The previous deciding court must have binding authority over the court. Otherwise, the previous decision is merely persuasive authority. And it gives you Campbell v. Marvel Enterprises, U.S. Supreme Court, described the rationale behind stare decisis as promoting the even-handed, predictable, and consistent development of legal principles, fostering reliance on judicial decisions and contributing to the actual perceived integrity of the judicial process. Look at that. Perceived integrity, not in actuality. The doctrine operates both horizontally and vertically. Horizontally and vertically. So what that means is, Your Honor, I claim stare decisis on this subject matter in res judicata. Now, the stare decisis claim I'm making happens to be vertical because this is a county level court and the Supreme Court of the United States is above this court. This court does recognize that the Supreme Court of the United States is above this court, correct? Make them answer you. Okay, then this is the decision and I claim vertical stare decisis. The name change has already been adjudicated and an opinion has been rendered. And here's the subject matter. And you tell the story of what the case is. These case citations are a story. They're written out, and they tell their story of how they got there and what makes them want to make claims. And then there's an argument opposing that. It's a story, it's a drama that plays out before you. It's some of the best reading you're ever going to have. And you look at the arguments from the moving party, and you look at the arguments from the defendant. Okay, or the respondent. And then you have the judge's opinion, and the judge tells them exactly why he made his decision. And if it's in your favor, now you have subject matter command of what that case was about, and if it's similar or dissimilar to your case. How is it similar to your case? What are the principles in making that decision did the judge arrive at? And you tell this story. When you can start telling stories and not just say, Murdoch versus Madison, blah, 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 blah. Because you don't know if what that quote is that you cut and paste off the internet, you don't know if that's actually in the case until you read it. These judges aren't stupid. By and large, most of these judges are good and honorable men. And they want to do what's right. And they got to protect the res of the property, the trust. They got to protect the res. If not for you, for your heirs. And they're going to test you. So now, you go into the court and you start blabbering and you say, buy this, blah, blah, and the judge says, that's fantastic. Is it similar or dissimilar? And what was that subject? What was the particular subject matter for that case? I'll give you one. Pennsylvania case. Supreme Court case on right to travel. It's a First Amendment right. Well, so is your right to travel. You have the right to assemble, right, peacefully, right? Well, in order to assemble peacefully, you have to be able to travel. If the government takes away your right to travel and your private property, then they're taking away your First Amendment right. You got it? The mode of transportation that we have today is called an automobile. It's a First Amendment right. In order to assemble, it means you have to travel from your home to another location. That's that one. It's also a First Amendment right on the Pennsylvania case that's cited in my, that's posted on the channel too, by the way. And there's also a Pennsylvania case that was decided. Now, this was a Pennsylvania case. And it says that no state can license a liberty that's protected in the Constitution of the Bill of Rights. They cannot charge a fee for it or regulate it, period. It's a right that existed before there ever was a government. So that is similar subject matter. How is it similar? Because it deals with the First Amendment, deals with the right of religion, Your Honor. You see, that case is very interesting. There was a certain town in Pennsylvania that wanted this religious group to get a license to knock on doors and offer religious material for a donation. And this little town tried to charge them a $15 fee for a license. That little $15 fee went all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. And they won. They don't have to get a license to knock on doors and offer religious material for a donation. A right reserved to the people shall not be turned into a legal authority by permit, license, or any other form of governmental action, as that right existed before there ever was a government. Okay? Now that is how that applies to this case, because it is similar in nature as it deals with the First Amendment. And stare decisis is claimed vertically because that's a Supreme Court case. Now, if you find something that actually deals with locomotion, the right to move from one place to another, at your inclination and at your convenience, these are words that judges use, and they're in the cases. I didn't come up with these words. You have the right to move from one location to another at your inclination, at your convenience. And that's right existed long before there ever was. We have to go back. One judge even says, the right of the people to travel upon the roadways in non-commercial intercourse is old. It's so old that we shouldn't even be having this case before the court. He didn't say it. We shouldn't be having this case. He says, we would have to go back as far as the Magna Carta to discover the beginnings of the people's right to travel, unmolested. When was the Magna Carta? 1215. 1215. We're in 20, so it's over 100 years old, ain't it? No, how old is it? Almost 1,000 years old. Is it 1,000 years old? Yeah. How old is it? 2023 minus 1215. It's 800 years old, isn't it? All right. That's pretty damn old, isn't it? All right. So there's things that are written down in history that we can pull forward. That's why it's so important to not just look at Black's Law and see that the definition of it is, but why is that the definition? What's your standing to make such a claim? And do you have command of that subject matter? If you have command of the subject matter, that means the court or the prosecuting attorney does not. If you have command of that, then their personam jurisdiction fades away. You got it? So that's why I like Black's Law 4. So when it comes to name petition, look up what a petition means. Now read the statute. If you don't know what a word is, look it up. What are we supposed to look it up in? Black's Law 4th, Black's Law 6th. What's the other one? Old Oxford English Dictionary. Okay? Now, name, order, decree. What is a decree? Well, a decree is done in equity when the concerns of all parties have been weighed and measured. Okay, it says so. What's an order? We have to look these things up. Okay, so now we go do the petition, we get the name order or the name decree. For me, it's going to be a decree. I get it certified, I get the order itself. As soon as I get it from the clerk, I hand it and turn it right back around to him and say, I need 10 copies of that, please. And I need all 10 copies certified by the clerk, stamped, sealed, and exemplified by the judge, stamped, sealed. I'll wait. This is on the day you pick it up. Because the date on the exemplification and the date on the certification should match the date that the order was, you picked it up, the date that it was printed. Okay? Now, once you get that order certified, you get that order exemplified, now you take that order and you go to the Secretary of State for the state where the order was issued in, and you get it authenticated. If you want to, you can go get the authentication of the Secretary of State of the United States and pull the land into it, pull the Constitution into it, right? It gives you more standing to make such a claim, doesn't it? It gives you the ability to constitute a trust on the name decree only, thereby not commingling it with a deposit from your estate. You see? So this is just for the name decree to work through that process. Got it? Now, after you get all this done, I can't tell you what the rest of it is, okay? That's privately going to be talked about tomorrow, some of it. And once you get this name decree, wait until someone who did something before, who did the rest of it, help you through it. Okay? There's about 30 of us, I think. And, well, there's actually 35 or so. I can't even keep track of them. But we're learning as fast as we can. And we're fighting the hard battles so that you don't have to. Be patient. We're doing as much as we can without putting ourselves in the hospital for exhaustion, without driving ourselves nuts. Okay? So this is what you're dealing with. This is something you can do on your own. That's not dangerous. Now, along with that, I don't care what. If you can get a birth certificate in your proper form, great, get it. If you can get a hospital book copy or a mother's letter or whatever they call it, get it. If it's not in proper form, you'll fix that later. If it is in proper form, great. That's a step you don't have to do. Get it double authenticated. Now you're ready to execute, to fully constitute the trust. So after this, you got the name petition. This is step number 1. With all the elements of step number 1. Got it? You guys got this written down? Okay. What's step number 2? That's the big question. Get your double authenticated birth certificate. Okay? If you can get it in proper form, great. If you can get a certificate of live birth, great. Okay? You can fix it later if it's not in the proper form. Now, what are you going to do with it? What's the steps after that? Step number 3. You have to do something with that name order. Do you want it enforced? Well, that could be. I'm not even going to put the steps because it's different. I need to keep this as generic as possible. One could, if their private situation dictates this action, you could do enforcement, of a foreign judgment, You could do a deposit, and then you execute, and then you constitute. And then you do an assignment. After all that is when you start sprinkling that shit around like hot sauce at a barbecue. Then you start doing notices to remedy. Mistake of fact. And hyphenate mistake of fact. Okay? That could be your right to travel. Make sure you do an assignment on the Department of Transportation, Secretary. It could be any number of public actors that are getting out of line. You know, you can do so many different things with it. I don't even know where to start. What doesn't happen sua sponte, you want to make it happen once you put them on notice. Okay? So these are all steps. The double authenticated, step 1 and 2 is what you can do right now without doing too much harm. The enforcement of the foreign judgment, be careful. I don't recommend doing that unless you have someone that's already done it walk you through it. The deposit to execute, constitute, and the assignment, you need help with that stuff. Why do you need help with that stuff? Because you don't know how to speak the language. That's why. And you can get yourself into severe trouble. All right. Let me see here. Boom, bitty, boom, boom. I thought I had a picture up here. Image. Proper name, proper definition. Notice of automobile, superior title claim. Where did I put that? Let's see what this is. Rules of procedure. What is this? Style guidelines, that's not it. I'm going to have to go find it again, but it's no big deal. You got me on the screen, Scott? There you go. Okay, boom. Boom. Okay. Okay. Can you guys see that? All right. This is a private email of instructions that the judge put on the public record. It's instructions. Now I'm going to go through it with you and how important it is, all right? If you look up here at the first, it says, tonight I have read, now this is on the public record, okay? It says, I have tonight read all you have sent me by email earlier today. I will not set a hearing on any of these matters at this time. They apparently are signed and filed by a non-party to the case. Apparently, which doesn't mean for sure. I'm not sure they relate to the underlying facts of the matter or case to which I am assigned. He's telling you there's two things. There's the facts of the matter, and then there's the case. It's either this or that. It's either public or private. And then it says, regardless, he's also admitted that he's an assignee. He's a receiver. This is why it's important you got to look these words up. Okay? Now it says regardless, which means it doesn't really matter what I just wrote. Please forward a copy of all these filings and this memo to all these people blah, 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 blah. Please advise the persons signing the pleadings and documents that ex parte communication is not allowed, is requested through the defendant's attorney. Communication is requested through the defendant's attorney. Ex parte communication is not allowed. Ex parte is an at-law movement. Ex parte, it means excluding the other party. Okay? And then he says, requested through the defendant's attorney. And then he says, under the circumstances, this is where it gets important. This is bullshit up here. He's saying, okay, ex parte, we're at law. Currently, we're at law. This paragraph right here, these two sentences, hey, dumbass, we're at law. And then right here it says, under the circumstances, consideration, what does / mean? Or, investigation may be appropriate or warranted. Consideration or investigation may be appropriate or warranted. Get your device out right now and look up consideration. Come on, do it, man. This is how you pick this shit apart. Are you ready on that mic there, Justina? Yep. Who's got consideration?
Consideration, careful thought, typically over a period of time. Second definition is a payment or reward.
A what?
Payment or reward.
Under the circumstances, consideration or an investigation may be appropriate. Is an investigation criminal or is that equity? That's criminal. What's consideration? Equity. Here, hold this for me. I just gave you consideration. I just transferred the res property. That's the birth certificate. That's the res property. Because it's worth money. It's full faith and credit. It's double authenticated. And it's incontestable. There's no contest here, Your Honor. Full faith and credit shall be given. Why? Because the Constitution that you took an oath to uphold, that you swore an oath to, which I accept as your superior oath, not the private oath you took to the bar, the one you're bonded for, is your oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of this great nation. Will you honor that? He says, yes, if you give me consideration. Or there's going to be an investigation, maybe appropriate or warranted. Appropriate or warranted. Consideration, appropriate. Investigation, warranted. What did he just say? If you don't give me the damn consideration, I'm going to issue a warrant, an investigation. He just told you. Under the circumstances, consideration or investigation may be appropriate or warranted. Consideration, appropriate. Investigation, warranted. This or that, public or private. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? Under the circumstances, consideration or an investigation may be appropriate or warranted. Consideration first, appropriate first. Investigation, warranted. Consideration appropriate, investigation warranted. Consideration appropriate, investigation warranted. This or that, public or private. You're going to give me the bond and constitute the trust, or am I going to go to war with you? That's what a war rant is. Judge is telling you, pick a side, public or property. Right, Kiki? Now, as to whether any violation of law has occurred with these filings, civil or criminal, same might include perhaps the unlawful practice of law or holding out as an attorney or unlawful filing of documents allegedly related to real estate. Allegedly related to real estate. The undersigned expresses no opinion as this matter. The undersigned expresses no opinion as a matter of law or fact. It's either going to be a matter of law or fact. What is lawful is not legal. Legal is fact. De facto. Law or fact. Which one are we going to deal with? Right, Kiki?
Absolutely.
It's just screaming at you, isn't it?
Yeah.
This guy's trying to beat us over the head with what are we supposed to do? So, opinion, a matter of law or fact regarding such matters, nor does it render any advisory opinions. The court believes other certified copies of documents were filed in this case in recent weeks, which were originally filed in Hill County, Texas, at an earlier date. This court is of the further belief that the officials ought to be advised of the filing of these instruments by apparently non-trial persons or persons. Well, if you're not at trial, you're at equity, aren't you? All right, take that screen down. I'll put the whiteboard back up. So, that was so full of golden nuggets. 3 times he said, consideration. What was the word that went with consideration? Appropriate. Or what was the other one? And then he did it again. And then he did it again. And I render no opinion on any of this. He's a judge. His whole job is to render opinions. Okay? But I couldn't see that until this lady came into my life. And now we all see it. And we're all doing our best to fix it. All right? So anyhow, the instructions are there. It's just why it's so important to know how to read and what can happen if we don't know how to properly enforce the foreign judgment, deposit, execute, constitute, assignment, and then notices to remedy for mistake of fact. Everything below number 2, please, for the love of God, don't do it until one of us that's been through it in your state has the opportunity to get there to help you. Okay? So study on all of this. I'm giving you this information so you can study, and then study some more. Read until your eyeballs fall out, and then put them back in and read some more. Okay? And wait to do these other steps, because some of them may not be appropriate for you, and if you do them, it's going to hurt you. If you skip something that it is appropriate for you, it's going to hurt you. We don't want you to hurt yourself. Number 1, you get your name petition, these steps I talked about, get your double authenticated birth certificate, now you're ready to do something, okay? Don't start down the path of those other ones until you're ready to complete, right? I can't stress that enough. Got it? Okay. Now, questions. She's got the mic. She'll pick you. Does anybody back there have any questions?
Yes, mostly the front.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Do steps 1 and 2 have to be sequential, or can they be simultaneous?
Well, you can do them simultaneously because they're 2 separate things. A lot of people already have a double authenticated birth certificate. Like this lady over here, she's going to get it in your, it doesn't matter how it looks, just get it. Make the deposit, boom, boom, like we talked about. Back up and fix it. That's got to try something. Okay? Got to try something. Yep.
So in the state of Kentucky, they considered my birth certificate double authenticated because the first part of it was signed by the
First of all,
somebody in that state.
Yes,
And
first
then-
of all,
and I
slow
send
down.
it back. Okay.
First of all, slow down. This is very important. Thank you for this teachable moment. Hold
Yes.
on. Folks, when we talk, our mouth gets us in so much trouble because we make assumptions and presumptions, okay? So you said they. So me,
State of Kentucky.
who the hell is they? The state of Kentucky.
Kentucky.
There's like 2,500 divisions and offices and what entity in the state of Kentucky?
My birth certificate,
Your birth certificate?
to get my birth certificate,
Yeah.
I filed with
Vital statistics.
statistics, yes. And they sent me original of the certificate, and I said, no, I need it double authenticated. And they said, well, it is double authenticated by the state attorney of Kentucky and the registrar of the certificate. That made it double authenticated by Kentucky, but we need to do it both through the state and then the United States, federal.
Well, okay, what do they define? This is where the forked tongue comes in. This is where the people that work behind the counter, David calls them compartmentalized legal idiots. Okay, because they're trained like you train a seal or a circus monkey.
I monkeyed around with them for quite a while.
Yes. However, people are educated. And along this journey, every one of you sitting here and the over 200 of you that are watching online, it is our job to educate ourselves and then educate our public employees, like David says. That's our job. And because we haven't been doing that for 200 years, our public employees are out of control. So, how do they define authenticated, and how do we define authenticated that is incontestable, guaranteed bond that has a call premium to it? That's the claim check that's now incontestable. How do we define it? There's authentication, there's apostille, there's certified, there's double certified, are they construing the word certified with authentication? So which entity did the authentication? Which entity has the ability to bind the hand of judges and states to the point where they must perform when you deposit it? Which authority has that? Which authority constitutionally and legislatively has the duty to perform authentications that cannot be contested? Secretary of State.
Yeah.
The Secretary of State for the United States is number 3 in line for the presidency. Okay? So, what was your question? Go ahead.
Well,
and
I wanted to
finish.
make sure that everybody knew what double authenticated means because
Right.
I've been through it and I'm trying to make them
Yeah,
understand
right,
that
right.
the state you're in is one certification and the United States is another certification.
That's correct. Only the Secretary of State can certify by authentication that you can have faith in that. Now, some states, it says right on there, full faith and credit shall be given. Even at the state level, it says that. Okay? So my double authenticated certificate has a state of Maryland. It says this certification is not valid for use anywhere within the United States of America. Its territories, possessions. This certification does not certify the content of the document for which it is issued. And then it says, I, Susan C. Lee, Secretary of State of Maryland, under and by the authorities vested in me in Section 7-106 of the State Government Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, do hereby certify that Crystal D. Weaver, who has made and signed the attached certificate was on the date thereof the duly appointed and qualified state registrar of vital records, whose official acts as such should be given full faith and credit in all courts of justice and elsewhere. That's the state certificate. The birth certificate itself attached certificate and testimony whereof, Secretary of State. Okay? Want me to read it to you again? Blah, 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 blah. Do hereby certify that. It's certified. Okay? And it was done at the Office of Authentications, and her name was Susan C. Lee. Okay? And it says it's not valid in the United States or territories. It's only valid in all courts of justice and elsewhere. What the hell does elsewhere mean? That kind of stamps out the first sentence, doesn't it? You see the double talk and the bullshit that's put on there to confuse the hell out of you? No wonder we have questions. Because we're unsure. We have no standing. That first sentence is meant to throw you off your standing and confuse the shit out of you. On purpose. Okay. In testimony whereof I here do set my hand and have caused to be affixed to the official seal of the Secretary of State at Annapolis on this day. Blah, blah, blah. Secretary of State. Got a raised seal on it. Now here's the United States Secretary of State. It says, Department of State, to all whom these presents shall come. Greetings. I certify that this document hereunto annexed is under the seal of Secretary of State of the States of Maryland, and that such seals is and are entitled to full faith and credit. Period. In testimony whereof, I, Anthony J. Blinken, Secretary of the State, have hereunto caused the seal of the United States Department of State to be affixed, and my name subscribed by, to, and attested to the authentication to the Assistant Authentication Officer of said department is at the City of Washington, D.C. and District of Columbia on this, the 6th day of September. Assistant Authentication Officer. So can you make the argument that this is only certified? Of course you can. But then it says full faith and credit shall be given in courts of justice and elsewhere. Can I control what they put on that paper? No. I went in there and did just as the website said. If you wanted apostilled, pick these countries. If you want it authenticated, pick these countries. And then I used the same country for this one. Okay? So now, I can spend the next 2 weeks explaining to you why this is why it is. Because when I got that, guess what I did? I started digging for 3 days. Okay? They don't know what their ass is drilled or punched. They couldn't find their ass with 3 people helping them with 10 road maps. It's so conflagrated and mixed up and double speak and double talk, they don't know what the hell they're doing. But I got a seal on it. That's the important part, isn't it, Kiki? And it says full faith and credit in courts of justice and elsewhere. Can I take that and live with it? You're damn right I can. Can I take that and live with it? You're damn right I can. And it even gives the codes and statute down here that says that they're authorized by Congress to do these things. And one of them is the Constitution. When the Office of the Secretary of State was created. Okay? So what am I saying that for? I'm saying that for this reason, okay? If you're uncertain about anything, I love my wife, and my wife would find something like that, and she'll dig and dig and dig for 2 months if she has to until she finds out why. And it makes sense to her, and then she moves on. Because she wants to know her standing. So if you come across something like that, dig and dig and dig and dig and find out if it really is authenticated, if it really is double authenticated. Is it full faith and credit? Is it full faith and credit? Does it say that anywhere? No, it does not. You understand? You got to turn it into something that you can execute with, to use for consideration. Okay? All right, next question. Pick somebody.
Hi, I'm Dorothy. I grew up in Maryland, and myself and 2 of my siblings were born in D.C. for some reason, and my parents had my other brother in Maryland. So I'm wondering, how do I get it double authenticated if I was born in D.C.? And
Wow.
But at the time, my parents were residents of Maryland, and actually that their address is on the certificate of live birth, that they were residents of Maryland. So do I get...
So slow down.
Okay.
You were born in D.C.
Yes.
and you got a D.C. birth certificate.
Yes.
How do I get it double authenticated?
Right.
That's your question?
Yes.
Well, if you're in D.C., what you can do is take it to D.C. Vital Records and
Okay.
ask that question.
Okay.
For the District of Columbia, they have an Office of Authentications.
Okay.
You go to the D.C. District Office of Authentications, you get it authenticated, and then you take it to the Secretary of State and you get it authenticated, and it's double authenticated,
Oh, okay.
right?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
D.C. still has to have an Office of Authentications. Somewhere they do, I'll guarantee you.
Okay.
All righty?
And then when I asked this question before, someone mentioned getting an affidavit of inhabitants. Does that sound familiar? Or
An
just,
affidavit of inhabitants. For what?
Because I brought it up to someone else, and I mentioned that my parents were living in Maryland at the time, and
They were living in Maryland at the time you were born?
yes, but they went
Okay.
to because it's so
Wh-
close.
Which location did you pop out and take your first breath?
In George Washington University Hospital.
That's in D.C., right?
Yeah.
And you were born in D.C., right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, what's your question?
Okay. So I don't need, there's no affidavit of inhabitants needed. Okay. So I just needed to know where to go for those two authentications if I was born in D.C.
District of Columbia
Okay.
has an Office of Authentications for the documents that they issue,
Okay.
okay? Do a search, you'll find it.
Okay.
It's probably online where they give you instructions on how to get things authenticated, all
Okay.
right?
Sounds
And once
good.
you get it authenticated in the District of Columbia, then you take it to the Secretary of State for the United States and get it authenticated there,
Okay.
okay?
And
then
does
you have
this-
an executable bond.
And does being born in D.C. complicate or decrease my status at all?
Do you still live in D.C.?
No.
Okay. Welcome to America.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Because D.C. is not America. All right, next question. Come on, you guys got to have some questions. I'm being nice, too. Trying to be.
Here you go.
We filed our AOR with the Secretary of State of South Carolina, which was where we were living at the time.
Right? Did you? No, wait a minute. Did you send it to the Secretary of State of the United States?
We sent it to Blinken as well, yes,
Okay,
and
yeah.
Joe Biden and all the others.
Yeah.
I was born in the state of Alabama, but now we just moved to North Carolina. So in order for me to get the double birth certificate authentication, Do I need to do that with our current state we are living in, North Carolina? Or would it be in the state that I file my
Okay.
AOR in?
You talking about the name decree order, or you talking about your birth certificate?
Both.
Okay, the birth certificate, where did you pop out and take your first breath?
Alabama.
Then you got an Alabama birth certificate, right?
That is correct.
So who can attest that when that document was created and the people signed it, that they were authorized to be in office?
Alabama Vital Records.
Alabama Vital Records has the record. Who can attest that they were in office, duly elected or appointed, during the time that that paper was issued?
Secretary of State of Alabama.
Secretary of State of Alabama. That's exactly right. Now, you've since moved your location to which state?
North Carolina.
So you lay your head on the land of North Carolina. That's where you lay your head most of the time, right? So where do you think you get your name decree at?
North Carolina.
That's exactly. You're living in North Carolina?
Yes.
That's exactly makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you?
It does
Does it?
now. If Bobby says it.
No. No. Remember, everything, where do you stand to make such a claim that you have a proper name? You stand, do you have a place where you lay your head? That's called your home, right? Do you stand on the floor? Is the floor connected to the dirt through the building structure? So it's on land, right? So where do you stand to make such a claim? Not Alaska, right? Okay. Your standing to make such a claim is your location. All right? Okay, next. Yeah.
Okay, everything that has been said so far is how we do these double authentications for ourselves. Is it something that I can do or should do for my children?
How old are they?
12 and 6.
12 and 6. Which state are you laying your head?
Louisiana.
Oh, okay. The reason I ask is Louisiana has a little different form of law. Have you done anything in Louisiana yet?
Yeah, they have parishes instead of counties.
Yeah. Louisiana is a little different. Okay, now, normally what happens is you can do those things for your offspring. Okay? The process of doing that, I don't know because I haven't researched Louisiana. Kiki, I think you've had one in Louisiana?
About a handful. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
About a handful in Louisiana over the years. If you're trying to do a name order in Louisiana, they're pretty amiable with people. And
Now, how about for his children?
Oh, for children?
Yeah.
You can authenticate their records, but just keep in mind when you get name orders for them, they would be considered age majority when you get their name orders. Yeah.
Okay. So remember the rule of 7 years. They have 7 years to come forward, or they're under letters of administration under presumption of death.
Yeah.
Because the mother didn't put a letter on there of intention or a will. That was created, that birth certificate, that registration, was to secure the estate and inheritance of her offspring. Okay? So you got 14, and then you got 21. Okay? Those are the 3 cycles of 7. After the age of 21, if you don't get your name or you don't do things, you don't make your declaration of status as far as you're no longer a minor and you come forward and make the claim against your minor accounts, which you can do at the age of 18, then everything reverts back. Everything kind of is set in stone, and it becomes a little bit more, it's not quite as easy, okay? But when they reached, if you got, what's the age of emancipation? When can your son or daughter request not to be controlled by you anymore? This is different state by state. At the age, in their 8th year of life, they become self-aware. This is actually written down in their bullshit, I'm telling you. At the age of 8, they become self-aware. in their 8th year, I should say. And in their 15th year, they have the right of self-determination. Okay? So if they're 15, guess what? They can do it. All right? Like she said, age of majority. You know? So you can do it for them before then, but she said, like she said, it's considered age of majority. And what does that mean? Well, you dig it up and look at it, okay? Huh? 15. In their 15th year. Yep. Okay, so those laws are there for a reason. Why do they have to be 18 to drive? Why do they have to be 21 to vote? Why do they have to be 21 to drink? Who comes up with these numbers? Well, the age of 18 is the minor that counts. You have every right to contract openly and freely without the consent of your parents at 18. Okay? And at the age of 21, in your 22nd year, that's the last time you can just walk into your courtroom with a birth certificate and say, I'm here to claim control of my securities, and I'm competent, I'm compos mentos, I've got my affairs in order, and I'd like to claim the control of the account. And you're done in about a day. After the age of 22, when you're in your 22nd year, as soon as you turn 22, okay, isn't that weird? Because you turn 22, you're in 20. How does that work? What the hell did Bobby just say? I'm going to explain that. Why is it in your 8th year and it's in your 15th year? Why is it in your 22nd year? Remember when we were kids and they'd ask us, how old are you? How old are you? I'm 2 years and 4 months. Remember when we used to say that? Because when we take our first breath, time starts. What's the first number? What's the first number?
0.
0 is the first number. You have to get 12 months under your belt before you turn 1. So when you're 1, you're in your 2nd year of life. When you're 14, you're in your 15th year of life. Got it? Okay. Cool. Next question. I don't know if I can make it till 7:30. I got a headache like you would not believe.
Does your name decree have to be done in the county that you live?
Where do you lay your head?
Union County, Georgia.
Where do you stand to make such a claim?
Union County.
Right. Now, there are some states that do not have a inhabitants or a residency requirement. All right? You got it?
Mm-hmm.
So you have that option.
Okay, because our county is going to be very challenging. Our clerk is not very nice. And we live in
Is
a
your
small...
clerk elected?
Yes. But she wouldn't even let us file or record anything. We had to go to
Why
another
is your
county.
clerk recording anything? Your clerk is not the recorder. Your clerk doesn't work at the land office.
Our, yes.
So you have a deed recorder, you have a county clerk, and then you have a registrar. Some counties merged the registrar and the deed recorder.
Which one is
They
elected?
will. I have yet to find out anywhere that a clerk has been merged with a recorder or a registrar. So know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Who refuses to do what?
I'll look up a position.
So
She's
I'm
been there
asking.
for many years. I'll have to look up her position.
You'll have to look it up. Were you in the court to file something?
No, we were recording.
You were
our
recording
AOR.
or you record your land deeds?
No, we were recording our AOR and our freedom package.
That should have
Our
been
freedom
done
bundle.
at your land deed recorder, not the registrar.
Correct.
Okay, so were you at the recorder's office?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they refused to do what?
To allow us to record it there.
And what was the reason they gave you?
Because she said she didn't have to, and she was going to the attorney. And I needed it done right then because I'd already had my passport appointment. And so we just drove to another county that was very easy.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm saying
That's
if we
okay,
have
you
to-
can do that.
Yeah, if we
Yeah.
have, but,
Yeah.
but I want to know for my name. So do I have to go back to that same person? That we were at the courthouse.
You don't
Mhm.
record, your name orders, your name decrees doesn't get recorded on the land. The only thing that
Okay.
does is your deed poll or your quitclaim deed.
She's the one we'd have to go through for the quitclaim.
Right.
I do
Now,
know
what's
that.
your standing to make such a claim that she has to record these things? If you dig into your county or state statutes, there's going to be a county statute and a state statute.
Okay.
If you dig into it, you will see that they must record anything that has to do with land claims, the definition of, the parties involved in, land. Period.
Right.
You're going to find that it's in their statutes that just about everything you want to record, they have to record it.
Okay, so I just have to find that and take it back
You
to
have
her.
to know your standing.
Okay.
So you make them write down what it is that you record here. And they're going to say, we record deeds. That's fantastic. Put it on some letterhead so I can accept it. I
Okay.
just need it in writing, hon.
Okay.
So they write it down. Then you take it and you smile real sweet at them. Because they just gave you a big old two before to hit them with right between the eyes. Fantastic. You only record deeds here, right? Yes. Make them say it 3 times. And then you get in your folder and you pull out a screenshot of Black's Law 4th edition, the definition of deeds. Then you pull out Black's Law 6th edition, Black's Law 8th, 9th, and all of them. And it says things that have been done in reality as opposed to legal fiction that must be recorded and a record kept thereof. Something similar to that it says. I'm so glad you wrote this down that you record deeds. Here's the definition of deeds.
Thank you so much.
My county told me that they weren't going to record it either. So I said, who told you so? Well, the county attorney, the solicitor.
That's right.
Who is that? Well, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I called blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, she wouldn't let me do that.
Wouldn't let you do what?
Talk to the attorney.
Wait a minute. Your public employee told you couldn't talk to another public employee called the county attorney. Who's in charge here?
Okay, I got it. I got it.
I'm just trying to figure out, you know.
Me.
Rub her up and down the back
Okay.
and see if she has a spine or a
I
noodle.
know. At that, I tell you, at that moment, I did not have a spine. And
Are
we
you
went out
getting
of there,
one?
I'm getting one, and I want to have the information that you just gave me to go back to her. And yeah,
See, you have no standing because you haven't
Got
put
it.
it in your head yet.
got it.
Right.
And you're right. At that time, I did not, and now I
But
will.
that's a changing, ain't it?
Yes. I do
Right.
have a second question, and maybe this applies to somebody else.
Second question costs a cup of coffee. No, I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
no problem.
Go ahead.
Our son passed away many years ago.
Now,
Would
wait a
we-
minute. You're what now?
Our son,
Passed away.
many years ago.
Well-
Are we able to claim his estate?
I think you can, and that would be as a kinsman redeemer. Okay? Is your mother and father still alive?
My parents, yes.
Okay. Is your grandparents still alive?
No.
You can claim their estate.
And all
Okay.
of them would be Kinsman Redeemer?
Kinsman redeemer. Okay?
I had another question right here. Is it on? It's on.
Okay, I've got a question. I've got my name in the proper form on my birth certificate, and I've got it double authenticated. So does that mean I'm right there at the level 2, and I'm stopping right now, or do
Well,
I?
what you have is an incontestable guaranteed bond in the proper style.
Okay.
Now you need the public record to reflect that and flip it to the private.
Okay.
That is your proper name. You need a name order, and you're ready to go. Which state do you lay your
I
head?
just need the name order, right, on that number 1 there?
What does he need, folks?
Name order,
Right. What does he need to do with the name order?
bring it to the clerk of court.
Right. So you got step 2 already done, right?
Yeah,
It's in proper style, right?
yeah.
It's authenticated by the Secretary of State of the state you lay your head in most of the time,
Yeah.
right? That's done. And the Secretary of State for the United States,
Yeah.
right? That's done. That step's done. Boom, done, finished, complete. How many copies do you have? You're going to need at least 4. I got 10. I'm going to spread that shit around like hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah. So how many copies do you have?
I just got 1 copy.
1 copy?
Are you kidding me? Really?
You better, that thing's worth $1 trillion. You better take care of it because you got 1 chance that you get some more, okay?
So
You
what,
need to have a
what does
minimum of
everybody do?
4.
Does everybody just, when they get their double authentication, they just send a whole bunch of them at once?
No. You spread it around like hot sauce. Every time, here's a minimum of 4 copies. You need 1 to execute at the state level. You need 1 to execute at the federal level. You need 1 for in your safe, and you need 1 for your travel papers. That's 4.
So in other words, I better go get some more authenticated then.
What should he do?
You could just send them all at once.
I just
right?
told him how many copies do you need? 4?
Need at least 4.
Do you
So
want to
I'll get
execute?
5 or 6.
Do you want to execute at the state level? Do you?
So what's that?
Do you want to execute at
Yeah.
the state level?
Yeah.
Do you want to execute at the federal level and have them give you a check every month?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them what to do with the money that they keep? Do you want to fund your government properly at the
Yes.
national level? Okay. Do you want to be able to pay for the roof on your school in the town you lay your head when it needs a new roof?
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do. Do you want 1 for in your safe?
Of course, yeah.
Do you want 1 to take with you for when you're traveling, in case some
Do I
peckerhead
need
gets
one?
out of order? That's a minimum of 4.
Is that a good one to travel with? Well, I never heard of that.
Well, yeah, well, Kiki might talk about that tomorrow if you ask her real sweet like.
Okay, and I've got one more. I've got one more question as far as when your county won't record. Mine, they got an attorney on the phone, and then they said, well, we only record legal descriptions is what they said. Legal descriptions.
Legal descriptions?
And so I should have told them, give me a letter in black and white that's.
Well, wait a minute. What is a legal description? Because I've got
In
the
other words, property
So
legal.
hold on, I'm playing your role.
Okay.
I'm pretending to be you. You only record legal descriptions. That's fantastic. I got 6 pages of legal descriptions. The statute that says what you're allowed to do and what you must do reads this, and read the damn thing to them.
Okay, the statute, you mean Black's Law definition?
No, Black's Law, the statute. Somewhere in your county, somewhere in your state,
I got to dig there.
there is a registrar's statute, and there is a recorder of deeds statute. There's rules for them, what they're supposed to record. Nowhere does it say what they're not supposed to record. Okay?
Okay.
Until you read that, you have no standing to argue with them.
Okay.
All right?
That's
Because
good
what they
information
told you,
to know, really. I
what
like
they
it.
told you was, it's no different than if they'd have shit in a paper bag, lit it on fire, and handed it to you. That's what it was worth. Because it's bullshit what they just told you. Legal descriptions. Does that even make any sense, folks? See, on its face, it's bullshit. Okay? They're supposed to record anything that has to do with land, titles, interests, period. That's Black's Law, you know? That's what the courts have interpreted what a deed is. Okay?
After we have the name decree and the double authenticated birth certificate, it looks like there's 5 things there that you have before we send out notices. So is that true? Am I understanding that right? We have to have all 5 of those before we can notify with the decree?
Well, maybe you don't have any pending issues. Maybe you only have 1 assignment to do. Maybe you don't have to do an assignment to your Attorney General. Maybe it's a non-judicial state. Maybe it's appropriate for you, maybe it's not. Maybe you have to do 20 assignments because you got 20 pending cases with 5 orders each. I don't know. Do you have to do that? Well, you got to do at least one to somebody.
Okay.
Okay? Do you have to do 20 of them? I don't know. Do you want to constitute the trust? Do you want to execute? Do you want to make the deposit? When you make the deposit, you give them consideration. You give them something for nothing in return. You just executed it when you made the deposit. Now it's been constituted. It's a fully constituted trust. It's not a construed trust.
Do you do the deposit with the court clerk after you've got the...
I'm not telling you anything else about this.
Okay.
Because it's dangerous.
Okay.
Okay? And we're public. Okay? We're being broadcast all over the internet. All right.
Hello.
Hello.
So I know that there's a lot of people probably listening as well as maybe in the room that are not American born, and we often have to do a lot of research on our own to try and figure that out.
Yeah.
So my question is, I obviously rest my head in America. However, I was born in Canada, and I also have citizenship through my mother for Australia. And so when I'm doing this process and I want to enforce in the 2 other countries that I have citizenship to, would I be doing an assignment to the USA Secretary of State, who would then do it on an international level in those 2 countries, or would there be a different process?
Well, that's like a Jedi Knight kind of a question, and I'm still a Padawan. All right? So, based on what I've learned so far, you are a U.S. citizen by naturalization, correct? Are you
Sort of.
naturalized from Canada?
No.
So you're not a U.S. citizen?
I don't know how I'm here, to be honest with you.
Were you born in Canada, and when did you move here?
I moved here in 97. My father hired...
How old were you in 97? 5,
I was
4?
14.
14, okay.
Yeah. So my father hired a really good attorney for naturalization, and what we did is we went back through our lineage, about 5 generations, and we were able to find at least 3 different people in our family history that were American born, and after those people were born, like my ancestors spent time in both the United States as well as Canada, and it seemed to be important that before they had children, they had to be living in the United States, and then that transferred to the child, and that continued down, and somehow that's how we got our passport and Social Security cards.
Okay, what passport? You have a United States passport?
United States, yes, and that's the one that
If you have a United States passport, then you're a United States citizen unless you correct it.
Yeah, but I don't have I wasn't born here, and I don't have a certificate of
Doesn't
naturalization.
matter. If you have a United States passport
Yes.
with a blue cover on it,
Yes,
you're a
I
United
do.
States citizen. Or you're a U.S. national. Where do you lay your head when you got your passport?
Florida.
Okay, so you're a United States citizen by default.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the attorney was smart enough to do a declaration of status, which I doubt that he was. Okay? The only way you could find out is to do a Freedom of Information Act to the Secretary of State to disclose your political status and citizenship status.
Oh, okay. That's
Once you find that out, then we can have another conversation. Until then, I can't help you.
Okay.
Okay?
Any generalized for anybody who might be a naturalized citizen that might be listening to this?
If you're a naturalized citizen and you moved here and you became a U.S. citizen, the first thing you got to do is correct that status from a U.S. citizen, all right? Now, your birth certificate, where is it from if you were born somewhere else? Did you import the estate and the CUSIP numbers and the hypothecation? Did all these things happen? Did they happen sua sponte? You're asking me very, very, very complicated questions which can only be answered once about a month or 2 has been given specifically to that one man or woman to find out where they're at. Okay? You're asking me questions that are too specific and too narrow to answer without knowing all the facts, okay? It depends on how they were naturalized, what instruments they've agreed to, okay? What year they were naturalized, if they've had any children here. Do they own land here? Do they have a job here? There's all kinds of factors that are involved in there. Which country were they born in? Is there a treaty there? Are they part of the Hague, the country they were born in? There's all different kinds of questions that have to be answered before I can talk to that issue. To do a name decree, okay? It's easy to become your vessel, change it to a state national. You do that through declarations and notices and default judgments, okay? As far as the name decree and fully constituting the trust, once I would research that, it's probably pretty easy, okay? To get your birth certificate properly authenticated for a foreign execution in this country, all right? Because there's 209 nations that are all a part of this birth certificate registration hypothecation financing scheme. And they all share through, you could do a bill of exchange between the two countries. These are things that are like way, way, way advanced, all right? Okay, next question. Yeah. There's always a path to correct your name. The question is, where's the map to do it? Okay? Yeah.
Okay, from my understanding, we have 1 year and 1 day from the time that we petition the court to change our name, correct?
Okay, when you get your name, when you get your name decree, once you get it certified, exemplified, they usually give you protections for 1 year and a day to fully constitute the trust, because they know why you're coming in there getting your name, okay? And they give you protections for 1 year and a day. If you don't do it within 1 year and a day, guess what? You never fully constituted the trust. You're still in the public. All right? So what does it mean to fully constitute the trust? Right here, double authenticated certificate, foreign judgment, deposit, execute, constitute, assignment. And you can do these in, you know, these may or may not apply.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we authenticate and double authenticate the name decree order?
The name decree order, I just went over that. You do the name petition and you hopefully get a name order or a name decree. You get it certified by the clerk. Then you have the clerk tell them you want it exemplified by the judge. Then you get it authenticated at the Secretary of State level. For me, I want maximum. I want my club to be as big as possible. Okay, so I get it authenticated. I'm going to get mine authenticated at the Secretary of State for the United States and pull the Constitution into it. Okay, now you have a name order or a decree that is fully executionable. You can execute it, okay? That's the process of going through the name order. Yeah. Did I help? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I guess my question was what determines when the process is completed? And
What determines the what?
What determines when the process is completed from the
When the
date?
process is completed, the date the name order is signed by the judge. And if you get it exemplified and certified, it starts on that day.
Okay, my next question is...
Now, if you let it go longer than that, longer than 1 year and a day, well, they'll probably just ignore you. But good luck enforcing your name order. Because it's just, what delay defeats what? Delay defeats equity. Equity is private.
Okay, so my next question is, when you fully constitute your trust, does that mean you have access to the $100 million bond that's on it?
Well, you're asking me a private question.
Okay.
All right? When the trust is fully constituted, you get your inheritance.
Does the judge get half of that?
When you fully constitute the trust, you get your inheritance. And they're not entitled to anything more than $1.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep. Because remember, what's in your minor account is de jure money. It's not Federal Reserve notes. Okay? Remember, we're the settler creditor. We don't deal in debt when it comes to that birth certificate. Trust. Yep.
So I'm liking hearing too.
Oh yeah, the mic's helpful. I have actually a simple question regarding decree versus order, and I've done a lot of digging into a lot of states, and some ask for the decree, some give the decree, and some only give the order. Is there a difference? And if a state will say that they give orders, can you say, "Oh, I'd like the decree instead"? Is that possible?
It depends on the moving party. It depends on the statute. It depends on a lot of different factors. The way I read into it, and I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, Kiki, the decree is the decree is done in equity when there's mitigating circumstances to be done in the public on an order. So if you go in, for instance, in Pennsylvania, when you go in, if you go in to Pennsylvania and it says you got to do this, you got to publish it, you got to do fingerprints, state police have to do a background check, blah, blah, blah. All this shit's in the public. That's general rule. Then there's a special provision, which is one sentence. Out of 4 pages, there's one sentence that says, unless the petitioner or a family member may be harmed. That means you have the right of privacy. There's also a cool little thing, I think it was 74, the Privacy Act. It was 1974. There's a Privacy Act in 1974. You're entitled to be private. Nobody says you have to be in the public. Remember, you have the right to secure your persons, which means be private with it.
Okay, that's
it's
in every single statute that I've read so far, so you can ask the judge, be like, hey, please keep this off the record, I want my privacy.
Well, Your Honor, I have reason to believe that if I would put this in the public and do the posting and do the fingerprints, I have no problem doing this. Your Honor, it doesn't affect the records of the court because I'm not changing the name. I'm merely changing the style to conform to what the Bar Association and many other publications, the Government Printing Office Styles Manual, Merriam-Webster's Dictionary, I'm going to conform the name to the proper style of a proper noun. I'm not changing the name. Therefore, it does not affect any current records or in the court.
Yeah, I got that. That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay? You got it?
Yeah.
All that stuff in the public only happens when you change the name from Sam Smith to John Doe. Okay? Am I making a mistake yet? Nothing that was too bad. All right. Any other questions?
Yes. So when we change,
Where are you at, hon? I
I'm
can't
right
see you.
here.
Oh, there we go.
So when we change our maiden names on our birth certificates to the correct style, do we have to go back and use that name, or we still use our married name, or?
Honey, in this day and age, the woman decides what her name is. You are the only one that decides what your name is.
Okay.
Okay? So if you want to keep your maiden name, keep it. If you want to take your husband's name, take it. If you want to update the birth certificate to reflect it, do it. You decide what your name is.
Okay, but just to do the decree, it doesn't matter if we use the
Honey,
name.
you decide what your name is. Now, if you change your name and not just the style,
I know,
then
but if you just want to change the style, you can without using that name.
if you want to change the style, you can without using that name.
Okay.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I've already changed. I've already done a
rephrase
legal
your-
name change, so I didn't know if I had to do
Wait a
another.
minute, I'm trying to find out where you're at. Okay, so you were born and took your first breath. What was your name? Don't give it to me. Was it Susie Smith? Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Then you got married.
Yes.
Did your name change from Susie Smith to Susie Doe?
Yes.
Did you change it on the birth certificate?
No.
So it still says Susie Smith.
Yes. I got married, so that would be the donate. Then when my husband and I changed our last names again, so, but on my birth certificate, it says my maiden name.
So let me jump in here just for a quick second.
Yeah.
The last order that you have that your name is should be what your bond says. So
Yes.
we have people that are married and their marriage certificate will say the husband's name and the wife's maiden name. If your maiden name is the maiden name on your last bond, then that is the name that you change it to so that you have controlling interest over the bond. If you
Yes.
have your husband's name and your name with his last name on your marriage certificate, then that's what you change it to so it matches, because the whole point
It's a matching system.
is they have a matching system. That's right. They have a matching system running in the background, and everything has to match. The bond follows the body. So in essence, when you get the name order, it has to match the last bond so that you can control it, that you can deposit it. So here's
Yes.
a quick thing, and then I'm going to stop.
Yes.
If
Go ahead.
you look up UCC Perfection by Control, that's what gives you the deposit account rights to deposit
Yeah.
it.
Slow down. UCC
Perfection
by control.
And
You
that's
do
what
it in the internet
allows
search,
you.
UCC Perfection by Control. So go ahead, Kiki.
And that's what allows you to control the bond and deposit it. Now, keep in mind, you now have access to 4 new sets of rights when you get your name order. However, the deposit account is dependent on 18, write this down,
18 USC. Go ahead.
1342, which says you need a proper name and a proper address to place into a depository. You cannot use an all-cap certificate unless, it doesn't say unless in there, but there are shortcuts and backdoors you can use, but for the most part, you have to stick with those primary rules in order to use the deposit accounts at the county.
That's right. And the proper form, proper address privatizes it. If you're executing with an all-capital bond, you have to go back and correct that once you get your name order.
Otherwise, it's a federal crime.
That's right.
So I have to go back and look at my marriage license to
Yep.
see what names are on the marriage
Well,
license?
here's
Not
the-
your license.
Let me make this real clear, hon. You got your birth certificate, which is a bond.
Yes.
That has to match the name on the record of the last bond. So your marriage certificate, does it say what? Susie Smith or Susie Doe?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it in.
Wait a minute, you
37
got
years.
married, is that your husband?
No. I've been separated for 10 years.
Oh, okay, so you're not sure what your name was, last name was on
I
the
know
marriage
what my name
certificate.
was. I don't
No,
know
on
what
the
it's
marriage
on
certificate bond, I'm saying.
certificate, you know.
So in the marriage bond, you want that name, the last bond that was issued, everything has to match. Okay?
Okay.
So you have to find out what's on the marriage certificate,
Okay.
and then you have to find out what's on your birth certificate, and if they don't match, one of them has to be corrected.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a birth certificate in upper and lowercase names, but it is not my, it was a given name because it was not even my father's last name. I was later adopted at the age of 11. And then that went through the court system, my name was changed. And then I have a marriage license that says another name.
Wow.
Yes. So, how do I unwind that?
What do you want your name to be? Your name when given or your name when adopted?
My name when adopted.
Is that what's on the birth certificate now?
No.
Then you have to correct that error.
Okay.
All right? Now, your marriage license, what's the name on the marriage license? Does it match your adopted name on the birth certificate?
Yes, it matches the adopted.
Okay, so you have an adopted name on your proper birth certificate and it's in proper form, right?
Correct.
And you're ready to go get it double authenticated,
Okay.
all right? Because it matches the record,
Okay.
which is the marriage bond.
Okay.
So there's no issue you have.
Okay.
Don't worry about what your name was when born. They updated it.
Okay.
Remember what Kiki said. The last bond that was issued
Okay.
has to match the other bonds.
Oh.
So the
all right.
last bond that was issued was the marriage certificate.
Correct.
Is that in proper style?
Yes.
Okay. So you can execute the birth certificate you have now. You can get it double authenticated because it matches the marriage bond, the name that's on the record. Remember, the marriage bond is the record. That's the record.
Okay.
Okay? All right?
All right.
Cool
Thank
deal.
you.
All right. All right, I got 10 more minutes, folks, and I wanted to go till 7:30, but I can't do it. I have got a headache like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, someone came up and gave you some Tylenol if you want some.
Okay, so
No?
we'll do a couple more questions here, but we've got about 10 minutes, and then I got to go put my head down.
Quick question.
Yeah.
We were talking about to control the bonds and the deposits.
No, slow down and speak up a little bit. I'm hard of hearing, folks.
Okay. Well, we were talking about controlling the bond and the deposits. So I was wondering the proper name, I know what that is, but then it says, Kiki said proper address. Would that be our P.O. box address or zip exempt? Or would it be our home address that we physically live at?
Your proper address, Kiki may have a different take on it because she's got more experience with this. My take on everything that I have read, your proper address is of the United States Post Office. Rural route and box number, no zip code. And that can be further defined as meets and bounds descriptions on your land deed. If you don't have a land deed, then it's a rural route and box number. If you live in the city, good luck with that. Okay? So now, if you want to expand on that,
I'm going to
proper address.
So if you're changing everything to a proper name, as Bobby indicated earlier in the event, it's upper lower. So a proper name is upper lower, first, middle, last. An
Yes.
address is going to be the same thing.
Correct.
Upper lower address.
Correct.
And so in the United States Postal Service, most of you who move or have moved, I think it's the USPS 3575
Yes.
order.
Yes.
It's not a form, okay? So it's a change of address order.
That's
and
right.
not a form. So you would change your address on there. Now, if your previous address was, I don't know, an all-cap address, and it's against federal law to move from one all-cap to the other, then it would make a little bit of sense to do it from all-cap or all-cap to proper form. Just saying, from powers of observation. And then at the bottom where you have to sign, I would look closely at that because the Privacy Act is also at the bottom, indicating that you would be acting under the Privacy Act, under a position that could be executor, could be grantor. So 3575 USPS, take a real good, strong look at that. It's an order, not a form. And the way you fill it out will determine how you are treated. If it's done correctly, we've managed to make people's addresses completely private, where USPS would recognize it as a private address and have the phone numbers and zip code as all nines.
Right. So let's just say, for instance, you get a piece of mail. It comes in your all capital name. The road or the drive or the lane that you live on is in all capitals. The town is in all capitals. The state is abbreviated, Georgia, GA, or Pennsylvania, PA. And there's a postal zip code on there. Well, PA is a corporation. Proper way to identify the Pennsylvania constitutional state is P, uppercase, lowercase ENN, period. It's best to spell it out all the way. Upper and lowercase. The city or township or borough, upper and lowercase. The street, upper and lowercase. the recipient of the post, upper and lowercase, because people receive post. Criminals receive mail.
There's
Okay.
a legal dictionary, I think it's a free legal dictionary.
That's right, yep.
When you look up the word mail, it pops up as prisoner's rights.
Prisoners' rights.
Yeah.
Got it? Okay,
Okay.
one more question.
He hasn't said anything this whole time.
Hi. If you have an older son or daughter between the ages of 17
What's
and 21.
older mean?
17 and 21, some in
Okay.
that range. What parts of the process do they have to do before they do that? Do they have to do an AOR, passport, you know, the process?
Why
or
are you
can
doing
they
an
go,
AOR? Do they want to become state nationals in the public?
Can they just go straight to that?
They can start to this and then fill in the blanks. There's two paths here, folks. You can do the public side. Now, it's very, very, very important that you study what David teaches. If I wouldn't have studied what David taught and dug down, I wouldn't have known what she was talking about. The team of people that are our national coaches, we would not have been able to comprehend what she was teaching us unless we did the studying for 2 years that we've done. So it's very important to learn those steps and why they're important. So a lot of things that are going to happen sua sponte by getting your name, I walked you through that this morning. The things that I feel in my mission to stand up the constitutional republics across this country, we need to restore as many of those things on the record as possible. Okay, like your land patent. All right? That's important.
can I ask
So,
one?
go ahead.
Oh.
So, what would, re-ask your question.
Oh, well, that kind of answered it. I just wanted
Yeah.
to know if they could do that
Well, if they're
process.
over 18, they can do whatever they want. You
What-
can't do anything for them.
Okay, until they're 18, though, no. They have to be 18 and then they can do that. Or,
Well, he's 17. How long is it going to be till he turns 18?
year?
So he just turned 17.
Mm-hmm.
Time to spend a year learning and then decide what he wants to do. He doesn't know enough yet to decide, even make a choice whether he wants to do the name. For an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old to do a name petition, name change, that's a heavy lift. Let's teach him something first. Have him watch David's videos 20 times. And then start digging on the channel. And then maybe he can comprehend the stuff that Kiki's going to teach him.
One more question. The consular report, a record of birth abroad, can you
Yeah.
get that double authenticated? We've tried.
A consular's report of birth abroad
Yeah.
is created by what governmental agency?
Secretary of State of the United States.
Do you think that they would certify their own paperwork? Of course they would.
We've tried to send it to them. They
You've
send it back
tried.
to us. They've sent it back to us twice or 3 times. I can't
So-
remember.
I could ask you 50 questions and still wouldn't be enough questions to find out the parameters of all that stuff, okay? I can't answer your, can you double authenticate a certificate, consular's report of birth abroad? I don't know. I have no clue. I'd have to do 2 months' worth of research and reading to find out if it's even possible. Do you have any answer for that? Can
We
you double
have-
authenticate a consular's report of birth abroad?
As long as it has a federal seal on it, it's considered authenticated at the federal level. You would need a name change order in order to use a depository, and probably if your name is in all caps, then you might need an sort of an equitable golden parachute to switch jurisdictions, maybe a leave or a mandamus or something like that.
Yeah. It's some complicated stuff to try and pull off,
Yeah.
okay? All right, last question.
This guy here, Bobby. This guy's he's been waiting for a
Okay.
long time.
Well, Justina's got the microphone. Yeah.
Hi, I work for the post office,
And the form that we're talking about is a PS Form 3575.
Yeah.
I got a copy of it here, and that's what's used. It's a PS form. It says right on it.
Yeah.
Did she not say it's called a record?
It's an order.
An order?
It's
Yeah.
in the black highlight at the top where it says change of address order all the way to the right.
Yes, it says official mailing forwarded change of address order.
Correct.
But the form itself
Wait a
is a
minute.
PS
It
form.
says change of address order, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
so do you have a question or are you just making a statement? No, I'm serious.
Well, I was just wondering if there was a problem with what we're doing here with this particular form. The form is used always for
So
people
wait a
that
minute,
want to
wait a
make a
minute, wait a
change
minute,
of
wait a minute.
address.
Wait a minute. You was wondering if there was a problem, and then you pulled the mic away from your phone and a mouth, and I didn't hear it, and then you started talking again. So what's your question? No, I'm serious.
When I heard her talking, I thought that she was saying that there's no such thing as a form called the PS form 3575. It
She
was called
quoted the form, and she told you what the form number was.
Yeah, it's not a form, it's an order.
Yeah. It's an order. It's an order in the form of a form. You just read to us that it says at the top, order.
So now I
Okay?
have another question. Down at the signature line at the bottom, what are the positions that you can sign as?
Yeah. Give her the microphone. I don't comprehend what we're doing here. Are you trying to make a point or something? I don't know what you're trying to do.
I'm okay with it. It's on the back side. It's on the reverse side of what she's talking about that tells who can sign for it.
No question.
Never mind.
I am fucking lost. Okay? What the hell are you trying to do?
I think she's just trying to clarify that there is an order form in the name of an order.
There is an order form in the name of an order.
But it's an order.
The form actually exists that Kiki talked about. Is that what you're saying?
But it exists in the form of an order.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. What's your question? I'll just repeat it. Turn that microphone off. Go ahead.
My question is,
Your question is,
if we're doing this name decree process,
if you're doing the name decree process,
would we still need to fill the Form 56?
would we still need to, the Form 56? Well, that's going to be talked about tomorrow. Okay, the Form 56, you only fill it out for a specific purpose and for an assignment. The way we're doing it in the public, David tells you. David's told all of us this. That you're the co-beneficiary, co-trustee of the public charitable trust. So he has us fill out the Form 56 for that specific end result. So the way we filled out the Form 56 and sent it in was to be the co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the public charitable trust in our all capital name, executor, boom, 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 parse syntax. Now we've discovered that there's a way to privatize all that. So the Form 56 can be done differently and amended by on the second page checking the top box on the right-hand corner and rescind all previous powers of attorneys. Okay? So how that's done, and as the private side, you never sign an IRS form. Okay? Got it? And a Form 56 form, you don't put a signature on it. Because when you put a signature on it, you give them power of attorney again, no matter what you put on the rest of the form. Okay? So why are you asking me the Form 56 question? I want to know why, because I don't feel like I answered your question.
I'm asking that because in relation to revocation of election.
In relation to revocation of election, the Form 56. The revocation of election is different than the Form 56. The Form 56 is a declaration of it's an assignment. It's who's the trustee, who's the beneficiary, that's what it does. You know? The revocation of election is where you revoke your election to pay IRS taxes. Have you done the revocation of election yet? Good, because you got a lot of reading to do, okay? And go and read that revocation of election. Go find those citations and read them, okay? If it's done properly, you can, if it's done properly, okay, you can get a letter back from the IRS that says no further action is required on your part, period. You never have to communicate with them again on the collections side. You're done. You're not a taxpayer no more. And it's actually in the statute that once you do a revocation of election and you get that letter, you can never again opt in to be a taxpayer. You're not allowed to. They're done with you. So do your research on the revocation of election. And that's separate than the Form 56, okay? Especially if you've got your name and you've executed the trust, all you have to do is assign people to do stuff for you, okay?
If that.
If that. A lot of it happens sua sponte. They just got to do it, so they do it. All right?
And then my second question is...
you think you get a second question? What's your second question, brother? Would I recommend doing the trademark after? Well, there's two different types of trademarks. There's the public and there's the private. Which one do you want to do? So I guess I need to ask you, do you want to be private or do you want to be in the public? Are you a movie star or something? Or, I mean, I'm serious. Do you want to stay in the public? Because you can. Do you want to be in private? You have two options. Only you can decide which path you're going to take. There's nothing wrong with David's method. Nothing whatsoever. It's just public, and you have the responsibility to enforce.
Yeah.
Okay?
So then you should do the trademark after, once all of that is for private.
Oh, so private we're talking. After you have the name order, the decree, and all that stuff, then you can go and get your... Once you get the name decree, it's your name, you better protect it. Okay? Got it? The first step is to get your name. All right? Okay, cool deal. All right, folks, listen. I need you to hear me real good. I really wanted to go until 7:30, all right? For some reason, I've eaten 10 aspirins. I've done a couple other things. I've even been drinking some iodine to try and get my headache to go away. It will not. It hurts so bad right now, I can't see straight. I don't know why, okay? I physically cannot continue till 7:30. Now, if I could have the room, please. I feel in my heart like I've given you where we're headed. I feel in my heart that I've helped make sense of the last couple of months and all the talk that's been going on. I hope that we've got a refocused, unified agenda with two clear paths that we've now brought together. Have I done my job? Okay. Thank you very, very much. And tomorrow is Kiki. All right. Now, you're more than welcome to hang around until somebody kicks you out. And more than likely, it's probably going to be Michelle. All right. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, am blessed that such wonderful people as yourselves come together to share time with me. Thank you very, very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Love you, Bobby.